Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show today. This is Night Owls, and we're going to be talking a little bit about some fun things today, but also a little bit about vaccination, Thundero. This should be fun. It should be
Oh
fun. Yeah,
boy.
yeah, because everyone and their brother is trying to force you to get your vaccination. So hopefully, you guys are all ready to get your poke, which seems to have no meaning or value whatsoever to it. But whatever, get ready because we're going to be getting into that a little bit later, of course. But first of all, how you doing, Thundero? How has been your weekend, sir?
Good. No complaints.
That's good to hear. Did you do anything
No
interesting
complaints at
this
all.
weekend?
No, we were gonna do some stuff, but plans didn't happen. So we
Oh,
pretty much just. My wife went to a bridal shower,
ooh,
and then I hung out with one of my buddies today. Helped him with some stuff. Help him weld a trailer, like a metal rack on a trailer, and yeah, that was about it.
that's good. I haven't done any welding in years.
Oh, me neither. He did the welding. I just did the holding.
Ah, yeah,
I can still do it, especially like soldering and things. It's basically just the same thing, just on a bigger
sure,
scale.
sure.
And yeah, it's just been a long time since I've actually done it,
Yeah, no,
but it is fun.
it is interesting, and I'm not the best welder by any means. It sounds like one of our better welders we have around here is Kinma, who does the drone and quartered. She's like a
He's a
professional,
welder.
actually. Yeah.
Hmm. He's self-taught. He has always been like a tinkerer, and his stepdad has always had like this giant pole barn full of tools and all
Sure.
sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. And he's always had welders in there, all different kinds. So he's self-taught, and he that's kind of what he does. He retrofits like semis,
Oh,
because
okay.
I don't know, a lot of people don't know this, but most semis, it's not like a car.
No,
If it
it's not.
needs some kind of special attachment or something breaks or whatever, you probably have to manually fix that yourself.
Sure.
It's not just, you can't just take the piece off and put a new one on, and most of them anyway. Um, they're just too heavy duty. So he was literally, for a long time, he was literally working on I can't remember which semi brand, but basically he'd repair the whole front end himself, and he makes pretty good money doing it.
Oh, that's cool. That's good. No, I like self-taught people who can make their own business. That's definitely myself. But the welding thing, amongst the many of those other kind of handyman skills, I learned as a kid because my family are professional commercial fishermen. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what you kind of have to do all that kind of stuff. So, but I'm not the greatest at it, but it is a skill I think everybody should learn to have. Welding and learning how to use the various basic tools like grinders and saws and things like that. You should have some point in your life where you learn how to do those things because you never know, right?
Oh
You
yeah,
never know.
absolutely. And welding's fun too. Like if you've never done it, try it. It's pretty fun. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool what metal can do to other metal.
Well, I mean, in essence, what you're doing is you're taking metal and you're putting it in a seam between two pieces of metal and you're making them one piece of metal. I mean,
Right.
it's not it is straightforward, especially if you can do MIGing, which I've done a couple times. I'm not a MIG welder, but that right there is really makes one piece of metal. I mean, you're literally choosing the metal equal to what you're using, right?
Right. Yeah, he can. As far as I know, he can do all of it.
Oh, probably, yeah.
He has like like a trailer. He has a couple of them, but one he
Oh,
basically built himself. I mean, the bed. No, he got a bed, but he put all of the other stuff on it
sure.
and welded it on and everything. So yeah, it's a pretty good skill to have. I often thought when I was younger, probably. I mean, I guess I could still go do it if I wanted to. Was thought about becoming like an actual professional commercial union welder because they make damn good money.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Uh, and all you do is weld all day. That's your job. You just weld shit.
Yeah, my lead guitar player is a welder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They don't hurt for the money. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's the thing we've said on here several times, and you're seeing more and more people speak about it because for quite a long time, going to university is about prestige for your family and such, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's all well and good. I understand that. I was one of the first people in my family to go to university as well. I understand that. But trade school is really where it's at, and most people should be going there, right?
Yep.
Because we need those people, and it's really good pay. The funny thing though is, I'm kind of curious what you if you pay any attention to this, but I know a few years ago, I noticed and we've talked about it a little bit, but I've noticed the phenomenon of it's the MRA, is that what it's called?
The men's rights movement.
Yeah,
Talking
and the
about?
MGTOWs and these things.
Yeah.
In the past few years, the number of channels talking about that has risen incredibly, dude.
Yeah. It's
And
good.
they'll pop up out of nowhere, and they're automatic, like 50, 100,000 viewers. So it's a well, it's disconcerting, is what it is, dude. But
Yep.
I understand their point. But I have watched a few of those things, and to try to get a handle on understanding the thought process, because I don't think like that. But I'm
I
starting to
think
understand.
most of the MRA stuff, well, not most of it, but a lot of it, is probably a good thing. I think men need. We don't live in a masculine society anymore, and so we need to be able to protect ourselves and defend ourselves as a unit and as individuals with feminine weaponry, feminine defenses, and that would be activism. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I think it's largely a good idea. I do think a lot of the things that many of them complain about is just
Well,
silly.
it is too black and white. Humans aren't
Yeah.
that cut and dry. It's just not. The reason I mention it is because we're talking about blue collar workers, and electricians, plumbers, welders. They fall under blue collar for some reason. I think we should find they should be light blue collar workers or something, because they're kind of more in between. But nevertheless, it seems that listening to some of these channels and trying to get a understanding of how they're thinking, the women these days look down on these kind of professional blue collar jobs. And it's like, I don't understand why, because it seems that everyone and their brother is being so black and white about things. And if women are all about the money, then you should be happy about that. The funny thing
Yep.
is I watch some of these shows that are actually will talk to women and have interviews with women and ask their opinion. And every damn girl minimum wants $100,000 guy. And it's like, you do realize how rare they are, right? I mean, that's super rare. And there's certainly not enough of them to go around for you. And more important,
Or they don't realize that that's what they want. Because they say they want this, this, and this. Okay, well then that guy has to be making six figures at least minimum to give
right?
you all those things. And
Well,
yeah, you're completely right. They're most men not only aren't making that, don't have an interest in making that. To be honest, they just don't, and probably couldn't if they tried. They're just not capable for whatever reason.
no, it's a lot of
Um,
money to generate, dude. It
yeah.
is. Most men in the Western world are making between 30 and $80,000 a year. I mean, that's where
Yes.
what 95% of all men are.
Yes.
90% of all men, and it's it just shows me they don't understand money whatsoever. And this is a concerning thing. We talked a little bit about education and the lack of education in inappropriate things before, and this is certainly my field of expertise. I am an educator, right? And
Hmm.
I have found, even here in Japan, they don't teach economics properly. I had a bunch of kids in the class the other day. They're all junior high school kids, and therefore, they're coming into high school and then college, so they're getting to the point where they need to start making decisions, right?
Yeah.
About what you're going to do with your life. You need to start thinking about it, right? And I asked them all, because what I was doing was a math class, kind of more in the line of understanding the transition between Japanese yen and dollars, but it's also using it just to use large numbers, right? Try to make sure that their math is tight, right? In English, right? And I asked them all how much they would like to make individually in a career, and when they, as they get older. And they all gave me the number, and I put them on the board. And this whole conversation started because I was telling them I was planning on doing this anyway, which is why I brought it up. I didn't intend for it to go this particular direction, but it worked out really well. I've told when I was 12 years old, I had got an old lawnmower from my uncle, and I went to the library and got a book on lawnmowers, and I got it working. And because I had a little bit of money from like Christmas, I think it was, and
Hmm.
so I went out because I wanted money because my parents never in my life ever gave me money. I don't know about your parents, but my parents never gave me a penny.
Not
Um,
usually.
yeah. So if I wanted money, I had to figure it out on my own. So I was 12. You can't get a job. Yeah, there it is. But I took this lawnmower and I went door to door and I knocked on the door offering to mow these lawns. And these lawns were anywhere from a half an acre to an acre. So it's not like it's nothing, right? These are big yards in a kind of a place called Grand Oaks. And I would mow the lawn, rake the lawn, I would do the whole thing, right? And I charged $20 a yard, and I could get it done in about an hour or so. Right, so I was in essence making $20 an hour. Now I'm a kid, so I can't work every day all day. It's not a 40-hour job, but I was able to generate some income to, work on my motorcycle and do all those little things you do as a kid, right? And I mentioned that, and they kind of had this blank stare on their face, and I was like, "Well, you don't think $20 an hour is good money?" And they were like, they all thought no, that because I asked them, how much do you think it should be? They were like 350, $500. And I was like, well, you guys really don't know money, huh? So I had them
No.
all write these numbers they wanted on the board. And I said, okay, let's figure out how much an hour it is what you want, right? And
Hmm.
and they didn't understand the math. I was a bit frustrated that they're junior high school kids, to be fair, but that they couldn't understand that. So I broke it down. I was like, well, how many days in a year are there? How many weeks in a year are there? How many days in a week? How many hours? I broke it down like that. And then, of course, you just reverse that, and you're going to get that 2000 and what, 80? Is it? 200. The average worker does 2,080 hours a year, right? Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then I said, well, just take this and then do the math, and we'll get a division into an hourly wage, right? So just take that number into your number, right? And these girls were like, they want 80,000, 50,000, 100,000. Of course, this is the money they want. And then they saw that, because, if you want what is $50,000 a year, well, that's $24 an hour, right?
Yep.
And yes, and most people at that rate are getting salary, but you know what I mean, just breaking it down for convenience. And they were a bit shocked. They didn't understand this. And then I asked them, well, this is the money you want. What kind of job do you want? And they all listed off. And then I went and put up on the board what an actual person starting in that field would actually get paid. And these girls were stunned. They had no idea how little money you start off with in the jobs they wanted, because they weren't doing
Hmm.
outrageous things like I want to be a brain surgeon. No, they one wanted to be like a helicopter EMT, which sounds like a cool job. Another one wanted to be like work for a publishing company, et cetera, et cetera. They're pretty normal jobs. And But it was really interesting to me. Even the Japanese junior high school kids don't understand the economics of things. And it seems to me it should be one of the main things we teach kids, because college is for, or trade school is for, career education. That's what that's for. But,
Yeah.
the primary education should be more about getting you ready for life. And is not economics one of the most important things you need? I don't know. But,
Yes.
so
No, it's ridiculous. I got in this argument before with one of my friends talking about how important he was all about how important schools are. We need to get kids back in school and blah blah blah. And I'm like, bro, I didn't learn anything in school. Up until about sixth grade was the last time I learned anything meaningful in school. That's not even an exaggeration.
well, you learn how to
Because
talk to other kids and get along with other kids. You learn that kind of stuff.
yeah, but I had all that learned by sixth grade because I already knew how to read. I already knew how to write. I already knew arithmetic. The only stuff I learned after that was mostly just reinforcing or like a more advanced version of that stuff I could have learned on my own easily.
Yeah.
Everything I learned about how to live, how to be an adult, how to manage money, how to just live in modern society, I learned after school. by myself or with the help of another person, like an older person, showing me what to do.
Sure. Well,
There's no
that's essential in it. Yeah.
there's no reason why any schools shouldn't be teaching basic life skills. Why? I've never heard a good argument for it other than, they want to teach other things like algebra. Most people don't need algebra. But they do need to know how to apply for a mortgage. They do need to know how to apply for a business loan, so they can maybe open a business or start on work or whatever, or how to apply for certain like commercial licensing, because it's different everywhere, right? Some places it's not as easy as just going to a place and applying. Something you have to file all kinds of paperwork and do all this stuff. Why aren't we teaching people how to live as adult,
Yeah,
functioning citizens?
that's true.
Why?
That's true. It is. It's a very good point. And Roger, these are little girls we're talking about. And but besides that, having worked in the sex industry for so long, um, no one starts out wanting to be in porn, dude. No one does. That's something you fall into, right? Literally.
Well, probably hardcore porn, but I think a lot of these girls nowadays absolutely want to be on OnlyFans and these sites where they get paid, money to show their bits and bobs. There's
That's
just too
that.
many of them
Yeah.
now.
And there might be some younger girls who are anticipating getting to that because that is a safer environment. But in general, what I've seen is the road to those kind of things is you'll get some girl who needs money. She's in school. A lot of times they're in school, university, and their costs are ridiculous, of course, and they need money, so they go down, and it's just an easy way for them to make a big chunk of cash. A lot of them have this idea: I'm going to do it for a week or a month or a couple months or a quarter or something like that or a year, right?
Hmm.
And they just kind of get sucked into it because the money's too easy for them, and in a strip club, they're highly protected, right?
Yeah,
You're not going to get, they're not going to get hurt. It's not like they're literally prostituting on the street. But what happens is you get a lot of these strip club owners and people who are affiliated with the strip clubs. They'll come to the girls eventually and offer them, porn work. Happens all the
yeah,
time, dude. Happens like on probably a daily basis. And they're like, well, it's certainly another step, isn't it? It's another step, but they're also drop 10 grand right on top of them to do it, right?
yeah,
Or something like that. And so that's how it goes. And then the problem is these girls in the beginning, when they start doing it, they're getting paid pretty good money, but that money drops like a stone, dude. And by the time they're 25, 28, something like that, they're getting paid like 500 bucks to do a scene, right?
hmm,
And that's how it works. And that's how they get into it. In my experience, I've seen this happen personally. Now, do people have other roads to it? I imagine, I imagine so. But I saw mainly it going. It's kind of like when they talk about gateway drugs. Stripping is kind of a gateway drug to things like that. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. I don't understand why girls do that. It's not a good idea. Matter of fact, when we were sitting here talking about this, these whole MRA movement, and things like that. My point was more about why these blue collar guys like electricians are getting kind of shat upon by these ladies, which doesn't make sense to me. But in another angle of it, we've recently, if you even on CNN, I've seen this. We've had several of these, I guess, famous porn stars have come out and decided they're not going to do it anymore, and they want to get married and have normal lives, and they're pissy
hmm,
because they can't find a man. It's like, no shit.
yeah. And some of them succeed. The most famous one of all time, Jen Jameson, is married to a wealthy man. I believe she lives in Israel. I could be wrong about that, but he's an Israeli.
Yeah.
And they have a kid, and she is, now she's a staunch conservative. She completely changed her whole outlook on all that stuff. The most famous porn star of all time. It's not even close. And she completely changed the right life around, which is good. That's a good thing. I'm glad of that for her. But no, a lot of these women see they because what happens is they're young and they're still pretty and they're still in good shape. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. That doesn't last, ladies.
Yeah, but
There's
men
coming a day when you will fall apart, and when that happens, you will get far less work and you will be far less valuable to these people.
sure.
and to the world in general because all you've ever been is a whore.
Yeah, and men in general really don't want to marry a whore.
Yeah,
Let's see. Lorenzo says, "Oh, hello everybody." By the way, Roger, Flying Saucer, Cult Film Video, Dave, Brett, how you guys doing? Lorenzo says, Mia Khalifa, I
Khalif.
guess, claims
Yeah,
she's only made $12,000 in the industry. Uh,
she's a liar.
I don't know anything
No, I
about
do know.
her.
I
Uh,
remember that. The one of the companies she worked with, which is one of the bigger ones, said proof showed how much they paid her, and it was over $200,000. And this was just
yeah,
one company.
that sounds more
So
like it.
she's a liar.
Um, and I don't really know how things are working now. I'm well out of that world. And I would say that it seems like pornography seems to be all over the internet for free. When I was younger, we didn't have any of that. It was literally an industry where they had, videos VCR videos you could buy, and all of that stuff. So it was an actual job, an actual industry. I don't know if things are the same now. I have no clue. But yeah, no, I would say that's nonsense if she's a professional. I don't really know who she is. That's a very Arabic Muslim name for a porn star, though. Was she really?
Yeah, no, she's American Arab. I think
Oh,
her
she's
parents were
American.
immigrants.
Okay, I should have thought that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is an interesting conversation for sure. But there you go, Roger. And no,
You know
none of
what's
the girls
silly?
want to be a porn star.
Ju- just because we brought up American Arabs, in most government documents, they're considered Caucasian. Which I mean, technically, yeah, okay, most of them are.
Well, they
But
are.
even the ones who are clearly not Caucasian, who are still considered Caucasian, like the ones with the very brown skin. Uh,
Well,
I just
yeah,
find
but
that odd that for some reason our government has, even though they've made up Hispanic, which isn't a thing. Sorry, Hispanics, but it's not really a thing. It was made up by the American government mostly. Um, Even though they use that to describe, Latinos and other South American and the mixed peoples, why don't they do the same for Arabs? Because they're the same thing. They're
right,
mixed people.
right.
There's just a
Well,
lot of them.
that whole kind of breaking things down into the three main Negroid, Caucasoid, Mongoloid groups is becoming more and more difficult with the more we learn.
Yeah,
The interesting thing I find on that regard, though, is today we account 42 separate racial groups on the planet, right?
right.
And not cultural groups. That's much larger. I'm talking about just actual DNA ethnic variants. 42.
Hmm.
Here's the interesting thing. If you go back to like I'm not talking Egypt, I'm not talking the Greek time. I'm talking ancient Kemetia, right? Ancient
Hmm.
Kemet, right? They in their information and stuff, they delineated the human species, and understand they were not only interacting with Asia, they were sailing to Asia, right?
Yeah.
That people don't understand how much people really could travel in the past. These guys were also in the South Americas. The Olmec people are coming out of the Egyptians, right?
Hmm.
They ascribed 42 separate races as well. And we're talking what, 6,000 years separating the two? It's interesting to me that we still have the racial groups. You would think there would be more border mixing than there is. So which tells
I
me
think
we've
what
been in
happens
place for a long time.
Well, but I think what happens is eventually things just return to the mean. So I wonder if,
Maybe.
like, because there's a lot of evidence it's almost indisputable that our DNA is largely manipulated, and I
That's
wonder
true.
if that's part of it. Right? There's a limit onto how different we can become, and maybe that's it. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the number 42. Maybe that's for some reason that's just where we're at. So we always
Maybe.
find our way back to
Maybe.
this number.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that is interesting thing you say because uh, whether you have the argument of ancient aliens did it, or we just somehow were managed to self-domesticate ourselves in some very
Hmm.
weird breeding programs, I don't know. However you look at it, we definitely look like a domesticated animal over a wild one genetically, and that is true.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is very interesting conversations, but it doesn't have anything to do with our news. And I
Uh
blame Roger.
It's yeah, I blame Roger
Yeah,
too.
it's definitely Roger's
He's
fault.
just a wonderful man. It's not his fault.
No, it's true. That's true. That's true. Let's see here. Lorenzo says that Mia Khalifa is Lebanese and was raised Catholic. Wow, damn. That did she? I hope she got out of Lebanon. I'm not sure how she identifies, but some Lebanese Christians identify as Phoenician. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. Not Arab because they would be. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Mhm.
But okay, I don't know who she is. You guys seem to know who she is, but
She was real famous for a while because she used to do porn and burkas and things, or not burkas, but the other one that shows their face, whatever it's called. Uh,
uh-huh.
she used to, so that was like her shtick in like the mid to 2010s or whatever I think it was, and so she got really famous because of that.
I
But
see. So sex with
then
the
she
enemy
tried
type of
to,
thing.
yeah, type
I
stuff like
get it.
that. Then
I
she
get it.
tried to claim, like Lorenzo was saying, that I barely made any money doing porn. And all the time I did, I only did made like $12,000. And one of the companies got tired of her lying like that, trying to make them look bad, and just had receipts. No, we paid you this much. Shut up. You made way more than $12,000 from just us.
Yeah, no, it is ridiculous. Although I would not advise anybody to get into that industry. Really, really, really.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It's a hit job. That's right, Lawrence. All right, well, let's get into the news though. Are you ready? I'm
Yeah.
ready. So let's do it here. All righty. I got some interesting things today.
Uh oh.
I
Uh
think you'll
oh.
like it.
Interesting things, he says. We'll see.
Interesting
See if
things.
this will load here. There it is.
All right, here
Black
we go.
Fleet.
Yeah,
That's
Black Fleet.
racist, Jester.
It,
Racist.
damn right it is. Uh, all right, here we go. Now, you guys know I like to start with board games on the Night Owls show here, and I'm going to continue. Now, I brought this one up specifically because Thundero was talking about pirate games the other day, and video games in particular, and there are a lot of good ones, fun ones, right? But
Hmm.
I didn't say it at the time. I kind of just shut up and let everybody do their dialogue. But my brain instantly was going to how many great pirate board games there are, and there are a lot.
Right.
You got the what is it? The Black Cross something or another. You got the Crusades. You got the Captain. I can't remember. There's so many of them, dude, and
Yeah.
some of them are really good, actually. Great fun, very adult, very serious. Board games, and there's also lighter ones, right? There's a little card game. It's called Captain Crustacean or something like that. I play with the kids. It's very pirate themed, but it's a cute little, easy, 10-minute game for kids. This one right here, I think, is a good in between. This is definitely kids can play it, adults can play it. You can play with your kids. I think it's I try to show family oriented stuff mainly, right?
Hmm.
And so I chose this one particularly to talk about. I own this one, and this is a really great game for playing with your family. And it falls into the category of pick up and deliver, right? That's a
Hmm.
board gaming category. And basically, what you do is you have your ship, and you also have a pirate ship, right? And as you can see here on the board, on the corners of the board, there are these little ports, and there's little wooden cubes there, different colored wooden cubes. And what you can do is go to these ports, fill your boat, because your boat, you actually have a boat, and it has 3 spots in it. You can fill out your boat, and you could try to get to another port, and different ports will sell different colored cubes for different prices, right? And these things are like rum or wheat or whatever, but they're it's just color cubes. And therefore, now the problem is getting from one port to the next port. You have two threats. Well, you have one threat really, because you not only do you have your merchant ship that you're trying to move around and score points and get money off of, you also have a pirate ship, and the pirate ships, if they end their turn, next to someone's merchant ship, they can steal a cargo. And if all your cargo is stolen, so if 3 times this happens, your ship sinks and you start it out in any port you want again. So this is how the game dynamic, and you're constantly kind of battling back and forth. There's a third little element where they have they say a purple ship right there and the yellow one. These are actually Royal Navy ships. and you can potentially move those as two. And if one of these Navy ships lands next to a pirate ship at the end of the turn, that it sinks the pirate ship, right? So it's very competitive. It's very strategic, but yet the premise is very simple. Kids get it. Kids can play it. It doesn't take them long to get it. And one of the neat things is how you move around. Is you have these cards. Everyone gets a hand of cards. You can also get some special cards that let you do special things like super cards, but that's and you see them down at the bottom. It says plus something, right? And those little blue cards. And you can use those two to your advantage. But basically, the whole game it comes around this. And if you look at this card, you just pick one. Say we'll take the one right here in the middle, and it has one purple, four pirate, and four merchant. Well, when you play whichever card you choose, that's how many spaces you can move those things. So the Navy, Royal Navy guy, you can move one space in any direction you want. You can move your pirate guy four spaces in any direction, and your merchant in four spaces. So there's a lot of strategy going on. It's very simple for kids to get, and it's fun for adults too because there's a lot of strategy in it. And you can get a game of this done in an hour, hour and a half, depending if you've got a full board. And of course, the other thing that's interesting about me just explaining the basics of how the game works, but if you take a look at it, you got this really nice, thick, modern board for your board game. It's beautifully made, beautifully colored, and you have these really nice plastic pieces that are well made. They don't break easy. It's not like the old stuff. These days, they're really well made. You got the wooden cubes. Everything is tactile. It's colorful. It's interesting. Ultimately, what you're doing when you're gaining your money, you have a certain number of you have these cards in front of you that make a panoramic view of a little port, a little village port or town port, and you're taking the money you gain and you're buying, one of those cars, and you turn it over and it gives you special powers. The first person that turns all of those over wins the game, right? So it's like
Hmm.
Machikoto a little bit in that way. But it's a really fun game, and for parties, it's certainly something you could play. But especially if you have kids, if you got kids in the house, they will love this game because it's colorful, it's easy to get, it's fun to play, and it's so tactile. And that's one of the great things about board games, right? When you pick up, like in my game in particular, I have like a kind of an epic version of it. And so all the coins I have in my game are actual metal doubloons, right? And having the weight of that coin in your hand, and the wooden cargo blocks, and the plastic ships, it just feels good in your hand to play, and you can't dismiss that when you're playing, sitting down and playing a game with people. Those kind of things add to the value and the memory of it quite a bit, right? But anyway, Black Fleet, and yeah, it's not racist because black people don't own the word black. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. But anyway, you ever play this game?
I have not.
Yeah. This is a good one, guys. So check it out if you're looking into it. It's not so expensive either. You pick this game up 50, $60, I think, pretty easy. Maybe even cheaper if you find a sale. And it's one of the things that's great about a board game is it's self-contained, right? Everything you need is in the box, and you can take it with you. And this is, of course, a modern box. This is Space Cowboys. Space Everything that Space Cowboys makes is awesome. Everything. They're an amazing company. I should talk about Space Cowboys here specifically, but one of the great things that a lot of companies do, but Space Cowboy probably does it the best, is their box insert, which holds all the pieces and everything, is awesomely made. Everything has its spot. It's easy to know where it goes when you're putting this away and taking it out. It's so convenient because one of the problems with especially games that have more components like this one is the setup time could be a real pain in the ass, right? And in this, when you have a great box insert that allows you to organize your game, you can drop this game and play it in you're playing in 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. You're going right. And that's another good thing, the quality of the company as well. Space Cowboy, if you ever see that on a board game, look at it because I guarantee you it's top end production, and it's well made and it's fun because that's what those guys do. They do it really well. These guys are also ones who make like Splendor and things like that. Which Splendor, have you played Splendor?
Did we play that?
I think we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I thought we did.
That's one of the most successfully sold board games of all time. I mean, it's only been on a shorter period of time, but it's already starting to challenge things like Life and Monopoly and things, which is ridiculous how quickly that game came up. But it makes sense though, because Splinter is absolutely phenomenal game, dude. And it's another one of those games that it's very colorful. It's fun to get into, hard to master, but it also has that tactile aspect to it because you have those casino coins representing your gems, right? And that weight in the hand of the coin, it adds to the fun of it, right? It's strange to think that just some having some metal thing or some heavy weighty coin would add value to fun, but it does. It does.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's move on. But pirate games are great, I think is my point. Yeah, and check some out. And I haven't seen a pirate game, board game yet that sucked. So some are better than others, but they tend to be fun because the playing as a pirate is fun, right?
You know what
Anyway,
would be
here we
kind
go.
of cool? And this
Yeah.
might exist. If we had a pirate game that had like a battleship, like a mini little battleship side game
Hmm.
for fighting in the ship, fighting ship to ship, right? For the long range volleys back and forth.
They
That
do
could be
have
pretty
that.
cool.
There is something like that. It's a game called Crossbones and Wenches or something like that. But yeah, they have like an extremely mini version of Battleship that's on your board that you can. Each person in that game, everybody has their own individual board as well as the main board, which is quite
Hmm.
common. And you actually you have a little screen in front of you, so people don't know how much gold you have because it's all in the end it's how much gold you've gotten. That's who wins, right? But you can also use
Right.
gold to buy upgrade and stuff. So you have to be balanced in the decisions you make. But your ship, you have to lay out your ship's vital points, as it were.
Hmm.
And as people attack, in a battleship way. If they hit that, of course, if they get all of them, you're sunk. So that someone
Right.
has done that. Yeah.
That's a good
And,
idea.
and,
See,
and it,
I've got just great ideas, and people already beat me to them, but still a
yeah.
great idea.
It is a great idea. It is a great idea. There's another game from Cool Mini or Not or Simon, uh, where they take it down to the deck level and basically you create your own pirate team. This is much more of a you can I've seen them do 4 on 4, but it's mainly a one versus one type of game. And you build your own pirate crew, and they have all these great, fantastic miniatures, and all the different characters. The miniatures have their own strengths and weaknesses, of course, because they're individual character. But you build your pirate team, and the board is the deck of a ship and you're trying
Mm.
to one of the teams is the home team, the other one is the attacker, right? I mean, simple. And but it's so cool because there's like exploding kegs and masts that can fall down and all kind of stuff that can happen in the environment that affects you as well because you're always turning a card over every round, and that's an environmental effect. And that can mess up your strategy, right? Because say the back end of the ship blows up, well, all your characters in that area are going to take damage, right? But it's basically a fighting game. But you have your pirate team trying to defeat the other pirate team. It's quite fun. And the miniatures are absolutely gorgeous. But of course, it's Simon, which obviously they're going to be awesome. They're kind of the kings of that. But there's another pirate game you might like actually. They actually get to almost like a league level state of that, where they'll release individual packets of new pirate combatants.
Hmm.
It's kind of neat, yeah. Roger said, one of these days you're going to run out of board games to talk about, Chester. Well, here's the thing: I have over 300 board games in my collection, so
Oh my.
yeah, it's got to be a
Here's my
while, Roger.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
All of this, it's not even really a question, it's a statement. All of this is making me want to play Sid Meier's Pirates. That game is
It's great.
underrated
It's a great
for
game.
how fun it is. And it's just there's nothing fancy about it. You're
No,
just a pirate, and you go around doing pirate shit. That's
but
what you do.
the algorithm is good though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was what Sid Meier did. He's an algorithm guy. But this Sid Meier's Pirates is awesome. I played it's one of my favorite pirate games. for sure. That and Black Flag, that was a lot of fun, dude.
Oh,
I've
Black
never.
Flag's great.
That's my most entertainment with an Ubisoft game ever. Was Black Flag. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a genuinely great game. It's why they've been trying to make uh, basically that system turn it into its own game. That's just about being a pirate without the Assassin's Creed part of it.
Yeah.
But it's been nothing but a shit show. But I hope they actually succeed at it
Sure.
because the pirating part of that game was so much fun. If it was just a little bit more in depth, it could have been awesome. Could have been a fantastic pirate simulation game. And unfortunately, they had the Assassin's Creed stuff stapled onto it, so it kind of lost the ability to have more depth in the pirating part. But I mean, it's still
Yeah.
a good game. It's just a good game all the way around. It's one of the last. I'd say it's the last of the traditional Assassin's Creed games that was really good. There's a couple that are
Right.
okay after it, but it's one of the best Assassin's Creed games. Period. It's just a great game.
Yeah. Well, Roger's mentioning Sea of Thieves, which people seem to be having fun with that. It had some problems too, but it looks fun. And Brett says, I'm also a huge fan of the tabletop Seven Seas. Yeah, that's a great RPG, dude. Seven Seas is really good, and it is certainly a pirate themed thing, a privateer
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it's a fun game. Shiver my timbers with a bar wench. Yeah, fair enough, dude. Uh, but absolutely, I agree with those things. The thing I didn't get about Assassin's Creed was I remember the first couple of games, which I liked. I played first one and the second one and the fourth one, I guess. I
Hmm.
didn't play the third one for some reason. I don't know why. I probably just busy or something. But the thing it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me when I first played the game, it was really a modern sci-fi game, and you
Yeah.
were sent back into the body of someone in the ancient time. It was very much set in the modern time. It was high tech that was sending you back. That's the game I remember playing. Have they forgotten that? Is that just been thrown to the wayside?
Well, long story short, there's still a hint of that. There's still like a modern story that's going on, but it's really pushed to the back, and it's because of a few different reasons. But the main reason is most of the players would prefer to just play in the old days because it's just more fun. Um, and you get to actually play a game as far instead of largely just walking around, which is what you did in most of the modern setting.
Yeah.
But they still have it in. At least I would assume. I haven't played Valhalla, but they had it in Odyssey, and it had its own little thing. But the problem is the main character. They killed him. He's
Oh,
dead. So they have a new characters, and in a couple of the games, you weren't even a character. You were just like it was first person. The parts where you were in a modern world, so there was like no, you didn't have a name or anything. Uh, but now they've brought in this new character, which is of course a diverse female. Um, and she is, as far as I can tell, no relation to any of the other people, right? Of the original bloodline.
right.
Uh,
Well, that was the
and it's
that
just,
was the trick.
eh,
It was going back to one of your ancestors, wasn't it? Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. And they've just lost. I can't. They've pretty much lost the plot on that, and I'm to the point where I would really rather you guys just stop making Assassin's Creed games and just make cool historical games.
Yeah, just do
Because
that.
you're
Yeah.
pretty good at that. So
Yeah.
why not just give us a really cool period game that's I mean basically would be just like Assassin's Creed as far as like a third person action game. But that could be awesome. They could make something really cool, tell a good story. They wouldn't be tied to all the Assassin's Creed lore and all this other stuff. I
Well,
don't know.
maybe
I
they
don't know why
backed
they don't.
themselves into a corner with it. They could have been that, right? They could have
Probably.
just, got themselves like, wow, wow, we really just want to make these historical setting with the league, the creed.
Yeah.
But we've kind of got this overarching modern tech thing in there, and maybe they just kind of painted them in. But anyway, Ubisoft has lost their damn mind anyway, dude. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and here and move on. We have a new petition, sir.
Uh oh. We have a new petition. New petition calls on Netflix to remove episode of Paradise PD. Oh boy. Depicting Jesus as a blaspheming fornicator and gun toting maniac.
Hmm.
I don't.
The,
Uh,
well, the funny thing is, we never see Buddha displayed this way. right?
Never. Yep.
We never see any of the South American gods, which were quite brutal, or the Indian gods, which Buddha's kind of an Indian god anyway. Well, he's not a god, but you know what I mean. We don't
Yeah.
see them depicted this way. They wouldn't dare put Muhammad in that situation.
No, they'll get killed.
But Baby Jeebus, he is. You can do any kind of horrible, hateful, nasty thing you want, and it's all okay.
We need a new Inquisition. I think just maybe they weren't wrong. Maybe some people just need to go.
Well, I just find it ironic how you'll get these same because you know what this is, dude. This is anti-Christian nonsense, which we see all the time.
Yep.
And they will sit there and yell and scream about Muslims and Islamophobia, whatever that is, and all this other nonsense. And you see the politics screaming here. And you know they'll do that, but at the same time they will absolutely disparage an individual who the Muslims hold in extremely high regard. By the way,
Oh yeah. In many ways, higher than many Christians who don't seem to care when he's disparaged like this. I remember when Netflix had that show on there with a gay Jesus, and it was
sure.
produced by some Brazilian company. That company's studios or offices got firebombed by Brazilian Muslims because they disrespected what they consider to be a prophet
Oh no,
of
he's
God.
a high prophet. He is.
He's the
They have
second
records of it.
highest
Yes, he
in
is.
Islam,
Yes, he is.
and they didn't take too kindly to it. I'm not saying Christians need to do that, but they need to at least have the attitude of this is that offensive to me.
Yeah.
Not just,
Family Guy
oh,
did the
who
same thing with that.
cares?
Yeah.
Ba-da-ba. Like,
Well,
no, you should care. If you actually believe that this is your God and he is beyond, you know, for you blasphemy is a sin. It's the highest sin, in fact. Blaspheming the Holy Spirit is what sends everybody to hell in Christianity. It's not just being a fornicator or lying or anything. It's the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. So if you believe it is the highest sin, it is the damnable sin, why would you not be horrendously offended at it? Horrendously. Like, most Christians will just brush it off like, oh, I'll pray for them. In other words, you don't really care that your God was
yeah, but
just
they're also
offended.
taught to let God sort it out and turn the other cheek, to be fair.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, I get your
Yeah,
point
I'm
there.
not taught that.
But what a
I'm
lot of
not taught
people
that.
misunderstand about Islam is the modern Islam we have is really only about 800 years old.
Yeah.
And if you go back to Muhammad, if he ever existed, there certainly was some kind of movement going on. We don't know exactly. Let's just go with Muhammad for now.
It's
Although
easier.
well, yeah, it's just easier. However, one thing that people don't understand is that Muhammad or whoever it was, they were Christians.
Yeah.
It didn't evolve into this thing we have today until way later, way later. And a lot of it were picked up because there was a lot of Christian fervor moving into the east, and there was this dynasty of kings of these Arabic I don't know what they call themselves, but I forget what they call themselves. But there's one family that really pushed that and used the fervor, the religious fervor, to
Hmm.
press and push out their influence. And this, carried on for centuries and eventually got picked up until it was, canonized into the modern Islam. And it became what it is today. It didn't start that way. Those guys originally were Christians. That's why if you look at Islam and you look at Christianity, they're so similar because they are
Yeah.
the same thing. And
Islam is a Christian heresy. And
yeah, it
Christianity
is. Yeah,
is a Judaic heresy or a
that's right.
Hebrew heresy.
That's right.
I mean, effectively. I mean, obviously, I don't personally think that Jesus Christ was a heretic, but the Jews do.
They almost certainly
And
do. They hate
yeah,
the
and
baby
the
Jesus.
Muslims think, that just like Christians think that Muhammad is heresy.
Right.
Um, that's just what it is. It's just the truth of it, and that's just how religions evolve. I mean, Zeus, the god Zeus, is older than all of them by thousands of years, and he's from all over the place in Europe and in Asia. There's a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a copy of him. There's a word for that. All over. He has different names, might have a couple different aspects or whatever, but when you break it down, it's basically the same guy.
Sure.
and Odin's the same way, especially in Europe. Um, so this isn't new. It's not unique to the Abrahamic religions. Pretty much every religion is that way, and a lot of the Eastern religions they just add them. They're like, oh yeah, they're part of this part. So that's why they have huge pantheons because they
Right.
just keep adding.
Well, yeah, no. Odin, the Scandinavian Odin, is not the oldest Well, Odin is a very modern name, actually.
Yeah.
The Celtic, because we're finding out that in Ireland was in ancient times was kind of like a religious center more than a country. It was like a
Hmm.
religious place where priests were taught, and we're starting to learn more and more about what Ireland used to be. But a lot of the religious stuff in the world seems to be starting over there, which is odd because for the longest time, it was Egypt, and then we understood Mesopotamia was older, but now we're starting to understand Ireland. At least the religious center of Ireland was older. Where was their political center? That's still up in the air, right? But the older name for Odin would be Nunez, right? Or
Right.
Nudada or Nuada, right?
Hmm.
That's his older name. But yeah, he's all over the place, and Zeus is just another version of it.
Yep.
The Egyptian gods once again seem to be another version of it. So, yeah, Odin is an interesting character
Godfather.
to try to follow the history of it. But the point being is that here you have something, and this a lot of the historical people are confused, and they don't talk about it a lot because they don't like when they're confused. They don't want to talk about when their confusions. But one of the confusions they have is they have a between where they say Islam started 600 AD, which is not true, and the 1200 AD, that 600-year period. They see a lot of Christian Muslim stuff that is together.
Yep.
They're clearly they've been intertwined, and they don't understand because they're supposed to be enemies. And of course, what they're missing, and not all, I'm just talking about mainstream. What they're missing is that they were Christians, and they later bastardized into what they are now, really, right?
Right.
So there was certainly war for control of the Middle East, but that wasn't religious per se. That was just standard territorial conquering and all that kind of stuff that humans do.
Yep.
But this is the answer to your confusion, Mr. Archaeologist, is because they were together. They were the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this rate that's a interesting conversation, but they're making a lot of standard tropes in this thing, and it might be funny. It might well be
Could be.
funny. But
It's just
yeah,
odd to me. It's odd to me how many Christians have bought into the lie that they're supposed to take insult.
yeah.
Jesus didn't take insult ever.
No, he didn't. He raised the sword to it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. You're supposed to be Christian. Literally means follower of or like Christ. You're supposed to try and live in a similar philosophy, not necessarily in robes and in sandals and things, but with a similar worldview that Jesus Christ did.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Would Jesus been okay if somebody blasphemed his father like that? No. He
No.
would get a whip and beat them
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
because he did.
He was quite violent on several occasions.
What are we doing? I just
Right.
don't understand. I genuinely don't understand it, and I've never have. It's why I left the church personally. I
Uh,
don't understand how you can read what the Bible says and if it's translated well in basically plain English or even in the Greek, and not understand that you're supposed to defend yourself, the people you love, and the honor of God.
no, no. Early Christians
Absolutely.
were fanatic about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's something I'll never understand in modern Christianity. Somewhere along the line they got cucked
Oh,
hard and
hardcore.
they
Yeah.
refuse
True.
to admit that they've been cucked.
Well, it's
I can't help them.
the Catholics made several changes, right? And a notable one, for instance, suicide it will make you go to hell, right?
Yeah.
Because they found in the beginning when they were pushing this narrative that people are like, well, if I die, I go to paradise. So they were killing themselves. That's not good. You don't get taxes off of dead people. So they had to put it in, they put it in there that suicide will send you to hell for sure, to keep that from happening. And they've adapted this way for literally 1400, 1500 years, more really, but you know what I mean. But Yeah, no, it is kind of nonsense that you're supposed to be just completely passive. And another thing that always gets me is this constant argument. I've probably heard my whole life. I'm sure you've heard it your whole life about the ethnicity and appearance of the Jeebus, right?
Doesn't even
It's just
matter, but okay.
it's the dumbest thing because technically Vespasian, for the four books of Vespasian there.
Yep.
Um, there is no description of Jesus, they say.
Hmm.
You have the Revelation comment on what he looked like. Of course, he's in God form, and for some reason, the
Yes.
blacks seem to take that and think that means he's black, which I don't get how
Which
you
is
think that's black.
it's ridiculous. There's
Uh,
actually a video by Metatron. I don't know if you've ever watched any of his videos, but he's a
no,
medieval historian, and he breaks that down with the Greek that it was written in
yeah,
of why that is stupid.
it is
That's
stupid.
not
Yeah,
what
the
that
Greek
means at
doesn't
all.
translate like that at all. So all right, so this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But it's also silly because really the only actual referencing we have to what Yeshua would have looked like,
Yep.
Yehoshua would actually be the proper pronunciation, I guess. But is the what is it? The Garden of Yosemite? Oh, what's it called there?
Gethsemane,
Yeah.
Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And where Judas has to go and literally point him out because
Yes.
they
And
can't
give
tell the
him a
difference
kiss.
between him and the rest of them.
Yep.
Therefore, Jesus looked like a standard Jew of the time.
And he makes that point in that video
Oh, does
because
he?
that's the point
Okay.
of the video. What does Jesus look like? And he
Uh,
says, if Jesus looked like something different to the people around him in a great way, that wouldn't have been necessary.
no.
All
Yeah.
he'd have to do is say, "Hey,
It's the
that
blue-eyed
guy," or
guy.
be
Yeah.
obvious, right? And
Yeah.
no, he looked like a Jew. He had light brown skin, and
Sure.
that's what he looked like.
Sure.
It's who gives a shit. It doesn't matter, and anybody who actually cares about that is committing a sin. It's called the very first one of the very first sins in the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not make any graven images. You're obsessed with
Yeah.
the image of Christ when you
That's
shouldn't be.
right.
You're not supposed to be. It is a sin. You are committing idolatry.
And that's why
Stop it.
And that's why Protestants don't put Jesus on the cross. That and also the
Yes.
fact that he's not on the cross. But it is not to have idolic images like the Catholics. But the Catholics is a business, guys. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the believer. There's a different. We've mentioned this before. There's a big difference between the faithful and the bureaucracy, right? But all that's interesting stuff said. I should check out this Metatron. It sounds like he knows what he's on about.
Oh, you'd love
Um,
his stuff, dude. He's great. He's a really really smart. He lived in Japan, taught English for a few years. He's Italian. He speaks fluent English. He
an
speaks fluent
Italian named
Japanese.
Metatron.
No, his real name is I can't remember, but he goes by the name Metatron. Um, and yeah, he's a medieval historian. He does videos breaking down like armor and fighting tactics and all
Oh,
sorts of.
that's
It's
cool.
really awesome stuff. You'd love it. I
Ah,
love it.
I'll have to
You'd
check
love
it
it.
out.
But for
But
some reason, he got on this topic of was Jesus a real person, and he breaks that down. And then he also got on the topic of because people were calling him a racist because he said Jesus wasn't black, which is what? And
certainly
so
not.
that was
Yeah,
his response at first, like what? And then he broke down why not only was he not black, he wasn't white either. He was a brown man.
yeah, he's a
Definitely was a
Jew.
brown man.
He's a Jew. It's very clear he's a Jew. Yeah, and besides, the Jesus you have today is really an amalgamation of Jesus, Yeshua, who was an actual prophet because there was literally hundreds of them running around at that time.
Yes.
Um, and of course Horus, the god Horus. Those are those three things that have amalgamized into the Jesus character over time. Now, Isus was a king vying for the throne of Rome, right? And a lot of his story is in the Jesus story. Yeshua was a prophet, doing his thing, and there were a lot of those people trying to be the Messiah because what they were trying to do was rile up the Jews into revolution against the Romans, is what they were doing. And
Hmm.
they have an old prophecy that a Messiah will rise up. So you had a lot of these guys trying to say they were the Messiah. There were many, many, many of them, right? And Yeshua seems to be a very effective one because he's well remembered, and I think that's why the Vespasians used him, right?
Yeah.
Because they were telling a story of what Titus had done, but they were using this is why you have the confusion of Jesus being born in 0 and dying in like 32 or something like that AD,
Correct.
whereas the destruction of the temple and the war of Rome versus the Jews was in 70 AD. That's why
Yep.
you have that disparity, because this was written at that time using an earlier rebel, a guy who was trying to stir shit. That's why. But you also had Isus, who was directly involved in trying to take the Vespasians out and take the seat. So it all kind of, because once again, archaeologists have confusions, and it's
Yep.
not very hard to figure it out, dumbasses. All right, anyway.
Well, they also don't want to step on toes, right? The
That's
Catholic
probably
Church,
true. I
especially
step on toes on a daily basis.
the Catholic Church, especially, is still a very powerful organization. They don't
A lot of
brag
money.
about it like they used to, but they got lots of money and
Oh, yeah.
sway over all sorts of uh, archaeological things, like just all over the world. They still do, and because of the fact that they were kind of there first in many ways, so they want to not make sure they don't step on too many toes. But the weird thing is a lot of because the Vatican has a science department, and they're very anti-theocratic in
Yeah,
the
they
things
are.
that they put forth.
They are.
So I don't think they need to really worry about stepping on toes too much. They just need to make sure they don't make a big stink
Well,
so that
it's
the
the
actual Catholics don't get
yeah,
mad.
it's the Jesuits, dude.
Yeah,
That's who's doing all that crap. Those guys. I mean, if you want to have a deep dive, go find out what the Jesuits really are.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a scary group. You think the CIA is scary? Um,
The but no, this whole thing is silly. I'm not even like a hardcore Christian. I don't even like the term personally. But I don't think we need to be mocking Jesus. I
no,
just don't see what is
no.
gained by that. Oh, it's funny. Okay, yeah, fine. But there's if it's easy. It's easy is my point. That's an easy target. It's like mocking Trump. It's an easy target. He's so easy to make fun of because he does nonsense things. What are we doing? It's like you don't go around kicking kids because it's a kid. Like it's not. There's no challenge in that.
Yeah, Devin,
And I
you
think
kick a kid on occasion, but don't kick the puppy.
right? I think the big problem is comedians, I'm using as big of air quotes as I can,
Yeah,
have become so freaking lazy that they don't, and most of them are hacks, so they just go for the low hanging fruit,
yeah,
like
that's true.
Jesus.
Well,
And I
yeah,
just,
those air quotes
I've
blew
never
my hair
liked it.
back, just so you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And I agree 100%, Dave. The Last Supper was certainly bagels with cream cheese and lox. Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
and it's
And
good
hey,
stuff. It's good stuff.
bagels are good time.
Yes,
I
they
mean,
are.
if the Jewish people are remembered for anything, let's say they all went away. If they're remembered for anything, it's probably going to be the bagels. Let's
It
be
is.
honest; those
Bagels
bagels
are
are
badass.
fantastic.
Yeah, and pastrami.
Yeah,
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 that's good.
yeah. They got
That's
that
good.
too.
That's good. But yeah, I just think this is funny. It's just more nonsense. 'Cause, for me, the bigger nonsense is the fact that these same liberals who will constantly attack Christians will defend Muslims, and
Yep.
it's like what? Okay.
When the
Uh,
Muslims don't like that either, at all.
no, they don't. Yeah.
They find it just as offensive as anybody else. Alrighty, what do we got here? Rumor: Henry Cavill met with Disney, but is not currently in talks to play Marvel's Captain Britain. Good, because Captain Britain sucks. Sorry, Captain Britain fans, but no, Cavill needs a bigger role than that. Come on,
Fair
was he going
enough.
to be a bit role? I mean, Captain Britain. Jeez, we're really scraping now, Marvel.
Well,
Holy crap!
if you use the old Captain Britain, it could be a cool character. The modern one,
It
they turned
could
him
be.
into a
It's just
sniveling, cowardly thing, which I don't get why they did that. But I agree. However, I would bring in this argument, and curious what you think. Henry Cavill is Superman. You don't get bigger than Superman. It's
yeah,
Superman. If
that's
you're
right.
gonna bring him over to do a Marvel character, do you give him some big banger character, or do you give him some little side character?
You give him a big character,
Okay.
and you rub it in DC's face.
Oh, okay.
You give him a very important. Uh, you could even be a villain going forward character that will be in a lot of different. I actually think a villain would be better, to be honest. Because one, he would love that, I'm sure, and he would kill it. And two, depending on who it was, could be very important. Like if they were going to bring in a Doctor Doom, Henry Cavill could play Doctor Doom. I could buy that. Uh, if they're gonna bring in, there's plenty of big villains Marvel hasn't even gotten near yet.
That's true.
Cavill could play them. Why not?
Well,
I think if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna bring Cavill into the MCU, which is I'm assuming is the point here, He needs to play a character that's at least in the top league. No one else is in Superman's league. Superman's at the top, and that's just the way it is. But there's a league right under him, and there's some Marvel guys in there. He could maybe jump into the role of. If he wasn't so buff, he could be a Reed Richards. I could see that. He need to lean up, but I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah, he could play. I mean, look at what they did with McAvoy as Professor Xavier,
Hmm.
a
They did a
buff
great
Professor
job.
X. Why not? We'll have buff
Yeah.
Professor X.
Yeah. No, no, that's true. Those two guys doing Magneto and Xavier did a great job. Fassbender and the guy you just mentioned, they did a great job. And yeah, Hyperion's too much on the nose, Captain Canada. I think. That is the question, though. If he's in talks with Marvel, uh, which is bad timing because I think people are kind of done with Marvel. However,
Yeah,
and it's not Captain Marvel, which I didn't even know that was even a thing. It's the first time I
Captain. Yeah.
saw even heard that was here. The question is, who do you put him in, though? What do you do? Because one thing that they haven't done, and I think is stupid as hell, they haven't done anything with the X Men,
Correct.
right? They have done nothing with the X Men, and there doesn't seem to be any movement at all with the X Men. Now, I guess you could say, well, let it sit for a little while. All right, that's fine. Who in the X Men who could he play, right? Because that's really where you should
Hmm.
put him, I think.
I think that's probably right. He could pull off a Richards, but he'd be too buff. And nobody else in the Fantastic Four would make sense for him as an actor, the caliber of an actor.
No, no, X Men, not
So
Fantastic Four. X Men.
no, I know. I'm just saying that's why you got to take them out of the equation.
Oh,
So if you
fair
come
enough.
into X
Okay.
Men, who would he play? I mean, I guess he could be Cyclops. He could be a younger Professor X. The problem is Henry's just he's a beast. Like he's a big boy. So he'd have to be in a character where that makes sense. I guess he could maybe be a Wolverine, but again, I think a lot of comic fans anyway want a more traditional Wolverine.
Yeah,
As
would
much as
be
we all love
nice.
Hugh
We
Jackman,
love Hugh.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of people want that. I personally don't. I like tall Wolverine. I think short Wolverine's ridiculous. But if you're going to give me a Wolverine, if I have to choose, I would rather they stay more comic accurate because if you let them get too far off the formula, you're going to get nonsense. And I don't want nonsense. So if you're going to if my choice is stick to the comic accurate, meaning a little short guy with big muscles, okay, I'll take that over some tranny or something.
Right. Well,
Um,
you know
I
what?
just don't know who he would play. Who could he?
Well,
He could be Magneto. He could
he
be the new
he
Magneto.
could be, but here's my suggestion. Let's do a classically a time period set
Yep.
movie.
Yep.
Go before Xavier makes the X-Men. I mean, literally, let's follow the chronology and build into the X-Men coming to be, and do
Mm-hmm.
Alpha Flight
Mm,
and make him
could
Guardian.
do Alpha Flight. You could do Alpha Flight. The problem is if it's not one of the big name characters,
Well, he's the
you
leader.
know, well, yeah, but I mean of like Marvel in general. If it's not a Professor X or a Wolverine or whatever, everyone's going to look at it as a step down. Now, it's always going to be a step down from Superman. There's nowhere bigger to go, but it's going to feel like more of a step down. And I think that's the issue with giving him a more obscure character. Now, he'll probably be fine with that because he's a big old nerd and I'm sure he would love to play an obscure character.
Right.
But as far as the audience, when they're watching it, that feeling of a step down is going to be real. That's a real thing, right? That's why a lot of actors won't go from movie to TV
Yeah,
because it's a step down.
that's true. But keep in mind this though. Guardians of the Galaxy was a big hit. People enjoy it. It's just fun popcorn movie, right? Guardians of the Galaxy were nothing in Marvel comic books, dude. They tried
That's
so
right.
many things with that, and they never found any purchase whatsoever. But yet James Gunn made them one of the some of the most better known Marvel characters, even though in comic books they're not. Alpha Flight is certainly above Guardians in that regard, but below
Yep.
many other books. The same thing could be done. So yeah, they don't know who the Guardian is and the Alpha Flight is, but he could make it a thing and make it a character that's popular that normally isn't.
Well, the reality of it is, and everybody knows it, even they know it obviously, or they wouldn't be talking to Henry. They need a new central lead guy. They don't have one, and they know it. Hiddleston's not going to do it playing Loki. He's just not. The character wasn't built for it.
And they
Spider-Man,
yeah.
he's not it. He's just not. He's too young. Like Holland's real young still, and two, the way that they've made Peter Parker is just he's not believable
Yeah, he's a
as
sycophant.
the main character, the Tony Stark, right? He's not believable in that role.
Hmm.
Captain Marvel obviously isn't going to happen. They've already backed away from that. You never see them even promote her anymore. I haven't seen her on anything in God knows when it comes
Well,
to the
she's
MCU.
badly toxic.
So they need they're going to need, if they're going to keep pushing this stuff forward, somebody who's at the forefront, the face of this thing. Henry's perfect for it. Everybody loves him. He's gorgeous, and he's a good actor. And he has the physique of a freaking god, so he can pull off any character they need him to. So if they're going to do this, he needs to be that guy. I don't think he would probably be okay with it, but I don't think the audience wants him to play what would feel like a bit part. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean, like you said, they can't take a bit part and turn it into something awesome with the right story. Iron Man was a C character at best before Tony Stark, that movie blew him up. And they did that. They've already shown that they can do it, but can modern Marvel do it? Because that was mostly, what's his name? The guy who does, what's the guy's name? The director of that movie. I can't remember his name. That was
James
mostly
Gunn.
him. No. The first Iron Man movie.
Oh,
That was mostly his
the
doing.
guy did the chef. Oh, damn it. He's kind of in charge of Star Wars right now.
I can't, his name's just
Jeez,
my
yeah.
brain won't get it. But that guy, if they let him have, which they're probably not going to, because like you said, he's pretty much running Star Wars at the moment. Let him or somebody of his skill take a character or the characters from Alpha Flight, or like the Guardian or whatever, or even Hyperion. I guess could do it. I wouldn't personally do that if I was them, but
Nah, it's too on
if
the
you
nose.
did, and built a good movie around them with more potential for growth, like they did with Iron Man. I mean, the ending of Iron Man's basically a cliffhanger where he says,
Exactly.
"I am Iron Man," and the world goes nuts. Right? What comes next? If they did something like that and they built this character properly with an actor like Henry Cavill that everybody loves and can pull it off and would gladly sign on to be, I mean, he already did, gladly sign on to a multi-year thing for them, I don't see any reason they couldn't pull it off. They couldn't make a more obscure character like they've already done in the past into something cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
The question is which character. Like you said, Alpha Flight. They could potentially do it with Captain Britain, but he's just, I don't know.
I
It just
get you. I
seems
get
like
your
a
point.
rehash, in my
I get your
opinion.
point. Yeah. No, but I think Alpha Flight is the best choice because it's chronologically before the X-Men, so they could lead in. It also allows, because where our timeline is different in the movies anyway, right? It's
Yeah.
got Mantis in it, so you can Mantis, after whatever they're doing, she comes back and stays on Earth and decides she likes Toronto and starts living in Toronto, and she ends up being recruited by the Canadian government to help them out. So boom, you got Mantis. You got the brother and sister there. One, the brother being gay. Right, so perfect. You got the big lovable, monster thingy, in Wendigo. You got your Native American representation, Guardian and his sister and her mental problems. There's some good drama you can do there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's plenty of females in this. There's plenty of your diversity crap in it. And it's something you can use to connect the Guardians Mantis into the Alpha Flight, and then Alpha Flight growing into Xavier and the X-Men. It
Yeah,
seems logical. Now, I
it
know
would
you
work.
guys keep yelling at me, don't put logic in when talking about these people. I do apologize, but that would be a smart move. And I think people would like Alpha Flight because there's a lot of good story there. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of problems. They're far from perfect, right?
Right. No, I wouldn't have any problem with that personally. I'm trying to think the way that they would think. See, I think Henry could do anything. They could put him in any role at all, and he's going to nail it because that's just who he is. And he's a big old nerd, he's going to love doing the comics. staying in the comic book genre.
Yeah, where
Um,
is Puck? It's a good point, Lady Celtic Moon. I don't see
and
Puck anywhere.
it's Jon Favreau, by the way. So
Here he is. Is the
I
classic.
think that that's a perfectly fine idea. I actually would like to see Henry try to play a villain, though. I think
It might be cool.
he
Yeah.
he did in the one Mission Impossible movie, and it was okay. I mean, it's a Mission Impossible movie, but I think he could play. I think he could pull off Magneto. I would really like to see him as Magneto. The more I think about that, I think the better I like it. I think a younger Magneto with I would like a set piece for the X-Men. If we're going to do time travel shenanigans, why not? Why not start it back in the '60s or whatever, late '60s, early '70s,
Hmm.
and start the story from there with like they've done it before, and it worked by and large. I think most
Yeah.
people enjoyed those X-Men movies,
First
most of them
Class was
anyway.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, First Class was great.
Yeah.
So why not? Why not give us? We all know they're going to reboot the characters anyway. They're not going to use the same actors. So why not? I think he could play a great Magneto. He would kill it.
He's got the body for it.
He's
He's
built
got
for.
the
We
body
could get
for
a
it.
proper, buff, threatening, imposing Magneto, because he's not supposed to just be a guy who's really powerful with his power. He's supposed to be intimidating, and he could pull that off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he'd be cool as a villain, and that would be a way to differentiate, right? Because he already played the superhero, and yes, he got
Right.
robbed, and we'll never get a proper Superman movie with him,
That's
which
true.
is a shame.
Yeah.
But okay, let's go the other way with him. Can he play a villain? Let's see it.
Yeah, and that's a good point you're making, Brett. The fact that Logan comes in later, which is my point, right? Weapon X, finding a home with Alpha Flight, and then eventually going to Xavier. But if you look at the original team I got up here, I was thinking about later where Mantis was doing stuff with them. That would be a good, crossover. But you also, we've heard a lot of rumors about them wanting to do Submariner. Well, you got his daughter right here, right?
Hmm.
And I just really think that that would be a smart way to bring it in to show something that because one of the problems they're having is when you do Superman, you have to do Superman this way or you're going to catch a lot of flack, as they did. When you do Guardians, no one gave a shit because that's not the original Guardians lineup that they had in that movie. But no one cared
Right.
because no one really has serious love for Guardians. Alpha Flight is another thing. I think sadly, because I've always loved Alpha Flight, I think it's a very interesting comic book, but it doesn't have that level of love. Whereas if you get in Magneto, I think he would be a good Magneto, but
Yeah.
you're handcuffed again in how you play the character. Whereas with the
Hmm.
Alpha Flight, I think they could do whatever the hell they wanted to do with it.
I'm gonna throw you a curveball. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Yeah.
What about he plays the Surfer?
Ooh.
Yeah. See? Yeah. It's like wait a minute.
Yeah.
Look,
No.
everybody knows Silver Surfer's a silly name, and he's kind of a silly character design, but everybody loves Silver Surfer. He's a great character.
But
And he's a character that can be in multiple movies. He doesn't have to just be in a Fantastic Four movie. He
here's
can
the
jump around.
Yeah, that's true. You can move him around quite a bit, and you could lead into the actual Galactus threat, which is a real
Yeah,
threat.
because
Um,
if they keep making MCU, they're gonna get to
They
Galactus
got they have
eventually.
to. But
Yeah.
here's the problem with the Surfer. If you have someone like, say, Anthony Hopkins, now I know I'm kind of
Hmm.
going to the top of the class here, but bear with me. Anthony Hopkins stands in a room, doesn't say a damn word, he owns the scene, right?
Yep.
Can Henry Cavill do that? Because the Surfer doesn't really speak a lot. He's just a
It's true.
presence. He's a
It's
quiet
true.
type of dude. Can
Yeah,
Cavill pull
I
that
think
off?
Cavill could do it. I think him as Geralt, he did it a lot. He didn't have a lot of lines in that show,
Well,
and
he
he didn't need
hardly
them.
showed up. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, he didn't need to. Every time you're there, he owned it. I think he could do it. I think he could pull it off. In fact, the best parts of the Superman movies that he was in was when he wasn't talking. Not saying he was
Yeah.
bad at it, but he had just such presence, and especially the Justice League, even both cuts of it, when he shows up, it's like, okay, boom, everything gets ratcheted up. Not just because it's Superman, but because Henry knows how to play a character with great presence.
He does.
With
He can
he
do
just
that.
gets it.
He's improving.
Yeah,
It's true. I think Lady Celtic Moon might have the win here, though, because the more my brain mulls it, the more she's right. Mister Sinister. They could
he could
have
do
him a
Mr.
running
Sinister.
character behind the scene, dude.
Yep, and because that's what I want. I don't want Henry to just be a one-off, right? Like if they make him Magneto, they could easily just make him a one-off,
They
and I
could.
don't want that. I want Henry to be, if he's going to be in there, let him be in there. And let him be in there. I would make, if you're going to have a villain, because we don't know what they're going to do with Kang. They're obviously doing Kang, but
Yeah.
we don't know what they're going to do with Kang. How much we're going to see of Kang, how involved he's going to be. Is he just going to be like Thanos, where he just shows up occasionally and is mentioned and da-da-da-da? Or is he going to be much more present, omnipresent threat than Thanos was? So we don't know what Kang's going to be. So we don't know what they would want to do next. Eventually, they're getting to X-Men. We all know it. They've said it.
Of course they
Sinister
will.
is a big
Yeah.
part of the X-Men, so hopefully he'd be involved. In fact, he could be right at the beginning if you wanted him to. You just have to do a little tweaking, but it could work. And that could work as him as the background, like, constant nemesis to the X-Men.
Showing up every now and then. Yeah. That would be
Showing
cool,
up,
dude.
causing trouble. He's behind this, he's behind that, because that's what he does. He's
Yeah,
Mr.
and
Sinister. And then eventually we get to a proper apocalypse, for Christ's sake. Not that nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the Black Knight they've already cast. They're using in the Eternals. He's cucking a god in that, which is great.
I like it.
God, yeah. Anyway, let's move along here. Yeah, no,
There's a lot.
interesting
The point is
conversation.
there's a lot of options. I think if you're going to bring in a Henry Cavill when he's as beloved as he is by basically everybody, they're going to put him in a prominent role, or one that they plan to be a prominent role.
Yeah.
They could do like you're saying and take one of the lesser roles and make it more important. But I think what they need, regardless of how they come at it, they need a face for this thing. They don't have one anymore with Tony Stark gone, which they very well could bring him back. And they don't have anybody in the tank right now who can be that. The person who could have been that unfortunately died. Chadwick could have taken that role. He's very beloved and popular, but he's gone now. The other people in there, like I said, they're just either not ready or they're just unliked. So, or their character wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't work.
Right.
So they need somebody who can fill that role to at least a satisfactory level. Right? You're never going to get another Tony Stark Iron Man setup, but you could get somebody in there who's pretty good and can run with they can build behind them, because you need that first mover, that person that's in the forefront. It's just reality, all entertainment. Whenever there's a blow up of any kind of popularity, it's almost always because of one dude is just really popular and he brings everybody else with him.
That's fair. That's fair.
They need that.
And Grimlock, we can't say that word. Oh, well, you can say that word. Okay. Go ahead, dude.
Doctor Who showrunner Chris Chibnall and star Jodie Whittaker to officially exit series following trio of specials in 2022. That's so dumb. Yeah, they're gonna give her the David Tennant treatment. Listen. First of all, yes, get the out of here. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Second of all, you're not David Tennant, bitch. Sorry. You destroyed the show. Chibnall's writing completely ruined the entire mythos of the show forever, permanently, unless they completely invalidate everything he did and said somehow. He destroyed the mythos of the show. The audience is gone. They do have a decent sized audience still, but nowhere near what they had under Tennant and Smith.
I can fix it easy, dude. I can fix it super easy. What you do is you pay money, you get Tennant back, you have a team of people from his group save him. He's been captured by some aliens, and he's been in some mind machine where they've been messing with him and torturing him. They wake him up. He goes through an adventure, and he really dies at the end, and then we get the new Doctor, meaning it was all a dream.
Good. The problem with that is then you erase Matt Smith, too, and he's also very well liked.
No, screw him.
You don't like Matt Smith?
No, he's just a tool. He was used to. All he was a setup for this bullshit, dude.
That's true. That is true. Him and Capaldi were just a waste, and at the end, a waste. Matt started pretty good, But by the end, he was just nothing but a cuck,
Yeah,
and it
he's
was
just a tool.
ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And the thing with that is, if you do it the way I just said, you're not taking them out of canon. They're just a tortured fever dream instead. They're
yeah.
still there, right?
Well, you could also, if we're we're going to come up with alternate ways of doing it. One thing that still exists out there that I don't think they've ever touched on is there is an alternate version of David Tennant's Doctor who exists in another universe, and they could easily have him show up and say that all this is wrong and blah blah blah, all this stuff. He's not a full time lord or something. He only has one heart or something. I don't remember. But regardless, he exists and he looks just like David Tennant. He has the same personality, everything. There you go. You could bring him in, have him say that all of this is wrong, da 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 da, and then if you wanted to have Tennant take over the role for a while to try and get back the audience, he could easily make that happen through Doctor Who magic, and they merge and become one Doctor. Blah blah blah, whatever. The problem is even if they get that back, you have to erase, like you said, you have to erase what Chibnall did.
Yep.
You cannot have Doctor Who, the Doctor, be the first in a Time Lord, not even a Time Lord, but what the Time Lords became from.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just
bullshit. It's bullshit. He's not that.
so stupid.
He's not that important. I mean, he is important. He's a Time Lord for goodness sake. But if you ever watch Doctor Who, you know right well that he is not always held in very high regard by the council because he often
Yes.
kind of breaking the rules. He's more of a mid-level, mid-tier Time Lord. He's nowhere near the most powerful, and that's part of the charm of the character. He's not the beginning of it all, and
Yeah.
he was a little black girl starting it. What?
Well, don't you know Time Lords are actually all black? They regenerate to change their skin color sometimes because reasons.
Uh-huh.
What? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well,
Uh,
now, how Alan says Simon Pegg Doctor Who. Well, here's the thing: you bring Tennant back, you fix the damn timeline with him. Maybe just
yeah,
do like instead of giving these idiots three trio of specials, give David Tennant three specials, and
yeah.
then he dies for real, and then Simon Pegg becomes the new Doctor. That would be awesome, dude.
And in fact, you could, because a lot of people weren't happy with the way Ten went out because he went out very selfishly, and that wasn't like his character. And they did some like character changes in the last stretch of his run, where he became more selfish and more self-centered. And one of his last lines were "I don't want to go" or something like that. And a lot of people didn't like that, so they could fix that. They could easily fix that and have him say basically the opposite, because he has to. In order to repair the timeline, he has to regenerate. There you go. So he wants to go this time. This time he wants to make that sacrifice. He's not being self-serving. Which, granted, at the point they're making is he's kind of earned that self-serving attitude to some degree because of all the good he's done. But at the same time, it does rub some people the wrong way still.
Sure.
So
And
fix
he was a
that.
great doctor, though. David Tennant was an
Absolutely.
amazing doctor. I mean, I'm still a Tom Baker fan because I grew up with him, and he was kind of perfect doctor because he's quirky and
Yeah.
he really showed you his place in the Time Lord world very well. Where David Tennant is playing the same character, but just seems more successful, right, than he really should
Yes.
be. But David was amazing. But yeah, they need to fix it. This is nonsense. No one cares. You've lost all your viewership.
Yep.
And the thing is, with the way the British are, as programmed as the British are, if you'd brought this on with great writing, it probably would have been fine.
Yep.
Because the British are completely have been brainwashed in incredible levels, guys. They gave up and they just cucked out. Sorry for the British. I'm not sorry. Fuck you. Anyway, let's
But no,
move
you're
on.
right. And I was against it. My wife was against it when they announced it. We both quit watching the show. She didn't want a female doctor. She wanted the doctor to be the doctor, not the nurse.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
the reality of it is they had to make huge retcons to the continuity of the lore. They did it slowly over time, so people wouldn't make too big of a stink, and gradually until people got okay with the idea of a female doctor.
Yeah.
Most people didn't. By the way, they lost a huge chunk of their audience when they did this
Oh
because
no, they
they
did,
knew
and they've continued
that the
lost.
only reason they did it was politics. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah, yeah.
because they had some great idea
No.
or this great actress who could just kill it or any of that. It was all because they wanted to show people we're going to show these sexists,
Yeah,
and
it's all politic. That's the
it was
problem.
all political.
Yeah, and they could have done the same thing they did with Torchwood. They could have brought on another Time Lord. There's more than one,
Yeah,
and they brought on a female Time Lord and spun off into her own series. They could have done that, just like
yep,
with Torchwood. And they were supposed to bring Tennant and the dude playing the face of Bo. Well, he's not that at that time, but Harkness, I think his name is.
yeah,
But he is
Jack
the face of
Harkness.
Bo. They were supposed to bring them back for something, and they canceled it because the guy the actor who plays Harkness, he likes ladies, and he said so. How dare he?
Well, no, he's gay. Actually, I think he's bi. But what he was doing was, he was jokingly, and I'm assuming alcohol was involved. He would pull out his penis and stuff, making jokes about it.
Yeah,
And
that's what you do at a party.
yeah, it's a drunk party,
I've
guys. I
had
mean,
people take my penis out at
eh,
parties. I haven't done it personally.
I'm not saying we need to condone people doing that in a workplace. I'm not saying we need to condone it doing it pretty much anywhere. But at a party where there's a bunch of alcohol, a penis comes out ain't the end of the world. It's a penis. It's not gonna hurt you. It's just a penis.
It is
It's
a
not a
bit.
big deal.
It is above a little bit above and beyond though, dude. A little bit. A
A
little
bit, yeah. But
bit.
I don't think you need to have your entire career ruined or have plans canceled that because most fans don't give a shit if he pulled his dick out. I just don't care. Who gives a shit? Did
Don't
he
care.
pull it out and slap it on somebody? Okay, well then I care about that. But if he just pulled it out and made a joke, haha, okay, it's childish and stupid, but I don't particularly care. Most people don't get so obsessed with how these people live their lives. What they care about is good entertainment, and those two together were good entertainment. Simple as that. And the more that we validate this fake outrage at everything nowadays,
Just blame war
the
campaign.
worse it
Why?
keeps
Why?
the
Okay.
worse it keeps getting.
Yeah. No. I
It's
agree.
silly.
I agree. And Jiminy, there is no such thing as bisexual. You're either homosexual or you're not. It's
Yeah,
that simple.
I actually totally agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I think once you can't unsuck a penis. All right,
No,
let's just put it that
you
way
can't.
as bluntly as
You can't.
possible. Once you cross that bridge, you're over that bridge now, and that's
Yeah.
just where you're at.
That's where you're at. That's right. I would.
Ablaze announces
Bisexual is
new
simply doubt, Jiminy. Go ahead.
Ablaze announces new unrestrained, violent, and sexual Conan the Barbarian comic, The Simmer. I'm not even going to try it. Beyond the
Sumerian.
Black River. Yeah, Sumerian. I knew that. Beyond the Black River.
Okay. Now we talked about this comic a little bit, but this article goes into a little more in depth. And This is from Ablaze here. They've gotten the rights to do that somehow. I don't think it's just free for them to do. I think they got the rights from the family. However, um, I like the art in this better. We were looking at some of the art before, and I wasn't a fan of all the art. But This looks pretty good. This is certainly not bad, and it is a more brutal because here in the end we see this guy we're following here ends up with his head cut off, and it's pretty visceral. Ablaze though had some of this stuff which I was talking about before, which I didn't care for the art as much, but nevertheless, getting a raw, unadulterated Conan. Is that the word I wanted?
Yeah,
Yeah, is what I want. I want more of
yeah,
that.
it's good. It's
This
good.
right here,
Look
making
at him.
him look like a Native American, I don't get that, but whatever. He is a Celt. You do realize that's what he is. He's a Celt.
Yeah.
He's a Scythian, right? But whatever. I like it. I think it's cool. A more adult comic, and that doesn't, of course, that will have nudity involved, but it's just a more brutal and forward-looking Conan. I think is what we need, and I'm always for more Conan. So this is a positive thing, and yeah, you go ablaze. And like I said, I love the art here.
Yeah, it's good. No, this is what we need. We need more of this, and lots more of it. Uncensored, adult-oriented, um, high dark fantasy.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Conan is the undisputed king of that, in my opinion. I would say I don't think that's even debatable.
No, no, no.
Uh, yeah, more of this, please. Give it to me. Give me movies like this. Just please. I will like to consume your product, sir. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And Jiminy, no, 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 Jiminy, no. And Eric, no one needs to hear about you whipping your dick out, and your wife doesn't count. That's true, Jiminy. You tell her.
What did this chat turn into? Chester, I'm blaming you. I had nothing
No,
to
it's
do with it.
definitely your fault. You brought up the dick drawing here. It's not me. Uh,
Listen, I'm just saying, when men get together, sometimes they get real drunk and they have sword fights.
and
It's not
sodomy
gay.
happens. What? No.
No. Just sword fight. That is a joke, people.
Yeah.
Remember jokes, Chester? Remember we could just make fun of things and it was okay.
Oh well, I've
Uh,
never stopped remembering. Yeah. No one
Society
told
has
me.
lost its damn
Uh,
mind
it
collectively.
has, dude. It has. And the funny thing is, a lot of these things, like we were talking about the Blizzard thing, which is still ongoing, and we have to see how that turns out. However,
Yeah,
it's quite clear to me, with especially that cube crawl, which you had were a bunch of the guys and girls having fun together, goofing off and drinking and being flirtatious, and you had a bunch of people standing in the back of the room, probably mainly fat neon-haired girls, saying this is disgusting and complaining, right? People
yep,
seem to forget, men might do crazy things drinking at a party. Women do too. Matter of fact, women are more insane. They're
yeah,
always trying to one up because the thing about women is they're desperately trying to get the attention, where men are just trying to asshole each other. It's
yeah.
completely different approach to things. And women party too. Women, how many damn parties
Hey,
I've been to where drunk girls taking their tits out? I mean, for
yep.
fuck's
I was
sake, dude.
just about to say. Well, the first parties my wife, I think, was the first party my wife and I ever went to. All the girls got in line, boobies came out,
Boobies came out, and the men
and we were like,
happily and
"I like."
enthusiastically cheered,
That's right. That's right.
even for
A
the not the
chorus of
big
cheers.
ones and the sloppy ones. We
Yeah,
we
yeah.
applaud all
Hey,
of them.
we appreciate it, sweetheart. We appreciate
That's
you.
right. But yeah, it's nonsense. It's always one sided. The men did this. The men did this. Well, what about the women? I mean, women do the same thing. They're having fun. Leave them alone.
I can explain that for you real quick, Joe. Both of those, well, the Inquisition thing was also a joke. You see, jokes don't have to always sound like jokes to be jokes.
Yeah, and sometimes they're satire.
Yeah,
But I like the art in this thing. It looks pretty cool, man. I definitely got to check this out. I don't know this company, Ablaze. We talked about it a couple of times, but I've never read anything from them. But the art looks good. They went and got the rights, so that's something they had to pay for it, right?
yeah.
So good on them, man.
No, it looks fantastic. More of this, more of all of this. Let's completely usurp the big two entirely. Make awesome shit. And guess what'll happen, Chester? I have it under good authority from a great movie about baseball. If you build it, the people will come.
They will come. They will.
They do. They do. They show up when you build it.
And they'll
So
whisper
build
things
it.
to your daddy issues too. That is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that show is basically just a big long therapy session for this guy with his daddy issues. But it's
Sure.
still a good
It's
movie.
true.
It's still a
It's
good
true.
movie.
It's true. But no, it is. The only thing I would say here in the negative is Ablaze is a dumbass name. But
Yeah, it's a silly name.
yeah,
Why not just Blaze? Why can't it just be Blaze
yeah,
Comics? That's
yeah.
That's a way better name.
It'll be better. But I like it. I'm going to check it out. Now, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, so I won't bring up. But I did go and read those comics I said I was going to read. I read them.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
My God, dude.
Not good.
Someone
You're gonna
needs
give
to.
yourself cancer. Don't
Yeah,
stop.
I
It's
think that's probably
dangerous.
true. But I'm going to save that for tomorrow. I'm going to save that here. Now, I'm going to get into a
Uh-oh.
final story here for today. In
Uh-oh.
essence, our TNT. Go ahead, dude.
Or TNT?
Our
Netflix,
TFT.
easy for me to say, becomes first major studio to implement mandatory on-set COVID-19 vaccination requirements.
Okay. Now, hold on a second. Read this one.
Disney Company institutes mandatory vaccination requirement for all salary and non-union, interesting, U.S. employees.
Okay. Read this one.
Sean Penn reportedly refusing to return to set of Starz series Gaslit until all cast and crew has been vaccinated.
Now, I could have put another dozen of these up headlines up, just so you know, that aren't related necessarily all to entertainment. Other big companies, and a lot of big companies are doing this. Now, let me pick which one would probably be better to stick on. Let's stick with the Netflix one here. But uh, I wanted to talk about this a little bit because you guys know that because of my situation in Japan, the Japanese are not being outrageous about it like we're seeing in the West. They never are. But if for me, it's just because I travel on a plane all the time. It's just more convenient for me to get the poke, and I already got my first shot. My second shot's coming up in a couple of weeks, so and especially seeing as this vaccine is super light anyway, which makes sense because they made it very quickly, so they made it as safe as possible. So it's not this ultra effective vaccine. It's a soft hammer,
Well,
is what
according
it
to
is.
CDC, it doesn't even work. So there's
Well,
that.
whatever. However, nevertheless, in my situation, it's been long enough. We know it's not causing this. The Johnson & Johnson one is what did kill a small percentage of people. The Pfizer
Yeah.
one did not. So it's no harm to me, and it's just more convenient, easier for me. I could not have done it and still been able to be on the plane, but it would have been hassle every damn time, right?
Hmm.
So it was just an easier solution for me to just do it. And that's my choice, right? Now
Correct.
not sitting here telling anybody what to do whatsoever, but what I'm telling you is these dickheads are going to force you.
Well, they're going to try. They're sure damn set on giving the old college try. It seems
Well,
that's
of
okay.
course,
Let them try.
well, you always
Let them
have
try.
choice. You can quit whatever
Yeah,
company you have. You can.
and I
You do
think
have a
a lot
choice.
of people will. I think you'll see a lot of people do that. I don't know how. I'm not going to get into the percentage game because there's just no way to know yet. But there are a lot of people in America who are even like philosophically against the idea of mandatory injections by any authority, whether it's corporate or state. There's, I don't know how anybody could be okay with that under any circumstances in the fucking America of all places.
Hmm.
But some people are not only okay with it, they're gleefully cheering it on.
Right.
And I really don't want to share a country with those people at all,
And
anymore, at all.
and we're getting countrywide stuff coming too.
Of course.
Canada, which doesn't shock anyone, is looking toward moving that. The British have been talking about mandatory vaccinations. The French have already done it, and they have full-on massive riots in the street because of it. Macron, he's
Yep.
literally put it into law, right? So we're seeing this across the board. Even though the evidence is this isn't very a super effective vaccine, we
In
have.
fact, I have some of the data. Pfizer's own study they released in the middle of last month in July
Mhm.
uh, said that of the people who died in their trial, if the people or if they look at the data, they didn't actually have a trial that killed people, but the data of people who died with the Pfizer vaccine, four of them that of the people who died in this time period were vaccinated, and one of them was not. Now that does not mean that sounds like, oh my god, that means the vaccine not only doesn't work, it makes it worse. No, that's not what that says. It just says that it doesn't confer the immunity at all long term.
No.
So if it's only a short term immunity, that's all it's ever going to be. Now they're going to try all kinds of boosters. You have to have 17 boosters. They're going to try it. They're going to try it. But this needs to be the hill that Americans die on.
Yeah.
Mandatory vaccination is wrong. I don't care what the reason is. It is absolutely morally, ethically, spiritually wrong. There's no good justification for it ever under any circumstance. I don't care if the thing's killing 50% of people. Mandatory taking away someone's bodily autonomy is literally the definition of slavery.
Yeah.
It is not something Americans should accept or encourage.
No.
I am not telling people not to get vaccinated. If you feel you should, for your own well being, your own health, your own mental well being, or your job's being a real jerk about it and you don't want to deal with it, then do it. What I am telling you is mandating it is wrong.
Yep.
There's a
That's clear.
difference between the two, people.
Yep.
You can be against it personally and be against the mandating of it, or you can be for it personally and against the mandating of it.
Right.
Simple as that.
Right. And that's a point that everybody's trying to make to them. And I guarantee you, a lot of those people in France, for instance, that are out there in the street protesting, have probably been vaccinated. It's not
Many of them
about
have.
that. It's about you mandating something.
You have
And
no authority over my body.
right,
And this, I thought that was the argument for abortion since day one,
yeah,
that
of
the
course,
state shouldn't have authority over a medical procedure for a female.
these
Now,
people are
I say that,
confused.
well, they're not confused, they're just hypocrites and tyrants. I say that it's not just about the female because there's a baby involved. However,
However, yeah,
however, the law says, as of now, that the state cannot infringe on your bodily autonomy. They can't force you to get a medical procedure of any kind as of now. That being said, if we go down this route, there is nothing to stop them in the jargon, in the logic, in the legal language. If we allow this to happen, there's nothing to stop them from saying, "Well, you have to have this treatment now. You have to do this. You have to do that. This. There's no way to stop it down just an insane slope where we'll never come back from because we've given away literally our right to our own bodies. The fact that anybody can make an argument that you don't have a right to breathe dangerous particles, so I don't have a right to breathe? What are you saying? Do you understand what you're saying, lefties? I understand that you're
well,
terrified and your whole worldview is based on fear. I get it. You're afraid cowards who couldn't live without the hardworking people underneath of you. I understand that. But do you really want to live in a world where an authority, governmental or otherwise, can force you to have a medical procedure against your will? That's the world you want to live in.
yeah,
You want
no,
your children to grow up in.
they don't think things out, dude. If you haven't noticed, but there's a lot of it. This critical race theory stuff has been growing for a while, and they want to get rid of all freedoms. They don't want you to have any of your rights because
Correct.
they want to control. And this is a good thing that's happening with Biden administration because you can see very clearly what they want. I mean, it's right
Yes.
there. And I'm going to move on here because I just wanted to touch on this a little bit. But Sean Penn, guys, he's always been a dickhead.
Yeah.
He's never
He's
not been a
he's
dickhead.
an insufferable cunt.
He is Bono.
Yeah.
Is what
Very
he is.
insufferable, sanctimonious, thinks the shit don't stink type of guy.
Yeah.
And no thanks. Also, I love how just last year, all these leftoids, Biden and them, were all talking about how they don't trust a vaccine that came from Trump. And now, all of a sudden, since Biden's in power, well, you got to get vaccinated, or we're gonna, we'll bankrupt you if you don't get
Yeah.
vaccinated. Some of them literally just calling for that. Like,
As if
oh,
Trump, but as if Trump had anything to do with the making of the
right.
vaccine.
He had nothing to do
Um,
with it. He just kept poking them. Hey, hey, make a vaccine. Hey, here's some money. Make a vaccine. That's all he was doing.
that's true.
Just keeping them on task.
Get it done.
Uh,
You're right, Jiminy. You're 100% right. All right, let's move on though, because it is getting on time, and I did want to get to this last little thing because I thought it'd be fun. So these are supposed to be the best current memes. So
uh oh.
let's check it out.
Uh oh. Let's see what we got here. This person says, I could relate to this after not sleeping for 24 hours and going to a funeral. I went to the wrong funeral for a bit.
Wow.
I'm drunk. Can you pick me up? Never mind, I'm home. Yeah, I don't drink, and I've never been inebriated to that degree, even when I was much younger. Um, but I've experienced that with other drunk people, where they just didn't know where they were.
Yeah,
They
no,
were so drunk.
I,
I watched a 300-pound man piss in a shoe because he thought it was a toilet
perfect.
because
Yeah.
he was wasted.
Wasted. Now, I've been drunk 3 times in my life, so I know what it feels like. And I don't want to do it again, which is why I don't really drink much. However, and the answer is yeah, I know. I'm the one who picked you up and dropped you off at home. All right, cool. This is an interesting one here. This is definitely up my alley. Go ahead.
What do we got here? Recreate the looks of Roman emperors: Hadrian, Augustus, Aurelian, and Tiberius.
Uh-huh.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
Why did you make them all so white?
Well, you do realize they're basing them off the statues. Why did you make them all so white? I love the answer because life is not
Life is not
Netflix.
Netflix. Because guys, they were white.
They were. It's a
So I'm
European
gonna tell
story
you.
after all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All of especially the aristocracy of, the Middle East or way back then, and of course, all the Mediterranean, Egypt, all of it were coming from Northern Europe. They were the aristocracy. So even if some of the Roman people, well, the Roman people were certainly very cosmopolitan, right?
Yeah.
But the elite were definitely Europeans. I mean, it's in Europe. Anyway, I thought that was hilarious. I got a kick out of it. I love it because life is not Netflix. It's perfect, dude. Anyway, moving on here.
Oregon man driving stolen car crashes into woman driving another stolen car. This is the romantic comedy I want to see.
This summer, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Ryan Reynolds getting in on it, dude. He's got a sense of humor. I like Ryan Reynolds. He doesn't take
Yeah,
himself
I do too.
seriously, dude.
I do too.
Yeah.
He doesn't take. He is a bit of a lefty, but he's in Hollywood, so
Well,
have
no
it that
choice,
what you
right?
will. But he's at least a funny and talented. I can forgive his stupid politics because he makes me chuckle.
Yeah, and he'll laugh at himself, and he doesn't take it so seriously anyway.
Yeah.
But that's funny. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I agree. Here we go. Okay.
Oh no. In 1939, Kansas wheat, when they realized women were using their sacks, man, I can't hardly see it, to make clothes for their children, the mills started using flowered fabric for their sacks so the kids would have pretty clothes. Pure kindness, the label would wash out. Ah, that's wholesome. That's a wholesome meme.
That is cool, and this is I don't know that this is a meme. This is just a history factoid,
Yeah.
and that's pretty cool, dude. And because you got to keep in mind, this was at the end of the Depression. People were hurting really badly, so they would use every resource they had. So good on you, Miss Kansas Wheat Company. Very nice.
What? Oh, I did that. Yeah. Your task is to do a blowjob, or to do a blowjob, to
Perfect.
blow a job interview in the first 30 seconds. What do you do? How strict is the sexual harassment policy? That's not what I said. What I said, because I'm an idiot, the person was asking me, so is it okay ever to steal from the company? Like ever at all?
Oh
And
wow.
like even like a
Oh
pen?
where
And obviously the answer is no. But for some reason, my brain decided I needed to argue this point. that was pretty much the end of me getting that job.
pretty much. That's a weird thing to say in a job interview, but that's funny. Okay, okay, okay. Here we go. Nobody. My bedroom fans that's been running on high nonstop for 3 years. I'm tired, boss.
I am
Yeah,
a fan like that. It
yeah.
doesn't make it 3 years, but it's always going.
It is. Yeah, 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 yeah. I have fans like that. We all do, I think. Yeah. Just told my kids I'm older than Google. They think I'm joking. Born
Oof.
before September 4th, 1998. Congratulations, you're older than Google. Yeah, no, kids have no perspective of things, particularly if they're before the age of 12, 13 years old. Kids, one of the things people don't understand about how we grow, before that age, you're not even really human. You don't understand the concept of time. Children don't
Correct.
understand time. That's something that happens after you hit that brain change. That's funny. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Me to my husband. I'm not in the mood tonight. Let's do it in the morning. My husband the next morning, as soon as I open my eyes, I summon you to fulfill your. Yeah, that's
That's
right.
right. That's right. That's
Don't
right.
make promises.
That's
Don't
right.
make
That's
promises,
right.
ladies.
Yeah. Now I hear that a lot coming out of Western men about of this kind of negotiation that goes on. I've never had that trouble at all with my Asian wife at all. Right? Now, I kind
Hmm.
of will couch myself in certain situations. Clearly, don't go after the lady when certain times, right? Leave her be. But I've never had that ever happen to me ever. And of course, all my experience before being married was dating, and of course, well, we have sex constantly when you're dating. But as a married guy, I've never had this problem. But Western guys seem to have it though.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
No. Yeah. Definitely. For some weird reason, and I can make many guesses, but I don't have any concrete evidence on this. Western women, on average, have become prudes, and it's strange because many of them have become literal prostitutes. Well, not prostitutes, but whores. Some of them prostitutes. But yet, when they're with somebody they genuinely love or want to be with, they won't put out. It's like that. It's this thing that a lot of them will say. I can't remember what show it was, but it was two girls talking, and one of them got engaged, and she goes, "Yeah, now I don't ever have to have sex with him unless I want to." What?
Like, huh?
Why do you think of
What?
sex as a chore.
Why,
What
yeah,
is
why
what is
weren't you
that?
doing it freely before?
Sex is
Yeah,
fun.
and that's the
Have it.
thing. Asian women don't think that way. They enjoy it just as much as the men do. They don't look at it like that at all. It's not part of their duty. You know, cleaning a house or doing laundry or cooking or whatever the wife might do in the house, and depending on your abode, that would be duty. But sex isn't. It is a strange thing. I don't know why, but this article makes me think. Long ago, I there was this girl I was dating, and maybe you've had a similar experience, but she liked to play with it a lot. She always kind of had her hands on it, right?
Yeah.
And I asked her one day, I was like, why are you always touching it? Not that I was complaining. I was just kind of curious because she's like always had her hands on it, and she's like, well, because I don't have one of these. I was like, oh, makes sense. It's very logical. No,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And
Excellent.
it's just silly to me. It's a weird thing that a lot of West not hashtag not all, but a
Of course
lot of
not. Yeah.
Western women have this weird like they're not supposed to be the ones to instigate and they don't want to start and it's like why? Sex is awesome. It's
Yeah, I
just
don't get that
it's
thinking, and and I think a
it's
lot of women
good
in the
time.
world, yeah, don't think that way. I think it's because the Western women have been told that they have some kind of special authority all of a sudden, instead of
Yeah,
just being like everybody else.
just
I'm not
having
sure what
fun.
it is. It's weird.
Especially
Anyway,
since for a lot of men there's going to come a point where they physically can't have sex anymore. And if you're still married to them, you may regret that, ladies. Just saying. Just saying.
yeah, no, I agree, Joe. Go ahead.
Where are you going? The Olympics? You're banned. Not when I do this.
Ooh, ooh. Okay, that's funny. All right, let's see. We got a little kitty cat up in a tree.
Uh
All
oh.
right, kitty
Uh
cat,
oh, kitty
what you gonna
cat. What are
do?
you doing? This is a bad plan.
Oh my God! Come
Cats
on,
are
dude.
not.
You can do it. You can do it. You
They're not
got
the
it.
brightest of creatures.
Ah,
Oh.
ah.
Oh.
No, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
We need Mission Impossible music
No.
right now. That's what we
Dun
need.
dun 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 dun. Good job,
Jeez.
kitty cat. That
Dumb
was pretty
kitty
good. I
cat.
don't know why that's a meme, but that was awesome. Okay. Here we go.
We got gonna ignore him all day so he knows I'm mad. I got 24 hours, guys.
Sweet, sweet,
yeah,
sweet.
yeah. I don't understand, ladies. We need a lady on here to explain to us why they think that is helping or working or achieving anything positive. Because men will just go do something else. Like
Yeah,
we're good. We're
it
good.
is true.
We're
We
good.
will do something else. Yeah. But it's like I said when we've been talking earlier in the show, and we've talked about it a few other times. The young people's take on relationships these days seem to be so clinical. And life is not clinical. It's not that black and white, man. Things are dynamic and they change and they adjust. I mean, your core of who you are doesn't, but how you interact with the world most certainly does. So, but everything is so clinical these days. It's not. It's as if this, and women do this. I understand in the West, but this is a planned assault to, because he needs to know you're mad. Well, if he doesn't know you're mad, then you're certainly not in a relationship, right?
Correct.
So,
Exactly. And it's also a complete. I mean, I get it's a meme, but women really do this. Uh, Communicate with him. Tell him. Tell him you are and why you are.
yeah,
Because if you do this, he's going to one, he's not going to care most likely, or he's going to care too much. And either way, what you're doing, see, men need to be trained, ladies. We don't like to tell other men that, but it's the truth.
that's true.
Because
Yeah.
we can't read your
Civilized
damn
us.
mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can't read your mind. We just can't. We don't have that ability. Maybe one day we will, but right now, can't do it. So you need to train us in what your things mean. So that way, when you're upset about something, we can fix it.
Yeah.
Because that's what men want to do. They don't want it to. They don't want to mire in it.
Yeah. Well, and my wife and I have had basically no troubles in our 25 years of marriage, but we've had a couple of little spats, of course. And nearly every time it was my cavalier attitude. It was my fault.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's probably normally true because men are tend to be more cavalier in their thinking, and this can step on toes, right? But yeah, this is dumb. It's interesting. We're supposed to be laughing at these, but we're analyzing it. Oh my God, we're joking. Go ahead, dude.
Cute Easter egg in the new subway train in Stockholm.
Pac-Man.
What am I looking at? Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
cute.
that's good.
I like these little touches. Like if you get a new car and you get the little thing on the footwell as you're stepping in, and it has like lights up the name of your car or something like that. Those little things mean nothing, but it's cool, right? It's just cool
Yeah.
touches, man.
Rule of cool.
Yeah, let me see here. Breaking news: man refuses to turn up to work from fear of ruining perfect blanket of snow with footprints. That's fair enough, dude.
Yep.
Ah, I see you're a man of culture as well.
My mother used to lose her damn mind at uh at people messing up her snow. She hated it. She gets so but people because I grew up out in the country, so people would come by in snowmobiles.
Ah, sure.
She'd be fired up, little 4'11" woman, fired up as somebody messed up her snow.
Yeah, well, it is a beautiful thing to see that blanket on the ground. Jimmy says, if you want a guy to know you're mad, tell him. Guys are like dogs. You need to tell them exactly what you want and feel. We can't read minds and aren't interested in trying. Just speak up. That is the most true thing ever, guys. That is very
Yes.
true. It is interesting having me here because I'm an American for sure, but my adult life has been spent in Asia, so I have a very different life experience than you guys.
Hmm.
Because the women here are not like this. I mean, they're really not. It's clearly a cultural thing, because the women don't do any of these nonsense things here. They really don't.
They will. If that leftoidism keeps spreading, it
Oh
will.
no,
They
it
will.
won't. It ain't gonna come in here, dude. The Asians are. You gotta understand. The Asians have a certain arrogance. They kind of look down on the rest of the world. They think you're
Which
inferior.
what's weird is you have the Chinese communists, right?
Yeah,
Which is a leftist ideology, but the Chinese people aren't leftists at all. They hate all that lefty
they're
nonsense.
super conservative. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. They are. It's an interesting thing. My wife and I here are going to be sometime in the future when I get all these machinations I got going on finished. I am going to be taking a holiday, a long one, maybe a couple of months actually.
Oh,
And I'm going, it's just years away, but I'm going to go down and I'm going to take sailboat down to Vietnam, and I'm going to spend in Vietnam for a while. Vietnam is an absolutely gorgeous place. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but everything's in English. Everything is very American. I thought we had a war with them, but if
we
you
did.
look at Vietnam right now, it looks as if we never left.
Well, we won. I mean, we didn't win the war, but we won the peace.
Well,
And
yeah,
which is what we should have done to begin with. Idiots, damn bunch of dead idiots. Um, but they needed helicopters to sell.
that's true.
So
Uh,
no, that's what happened. We won the peace.
yeah,
Our culture won them over basically,
right.
and Vietnam, from what I understand, is a great place by and large now. Like
Gorgeous,
it's
dude.
night and day,
It's
night and
gorgeous.
day from what it was.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is the most kind of a little bit dirty and communist aspect of the country is in the north, up around Hanoi, from like
Yeah,
the just above the old DMZ all the way down to the south. It's ridiculous modern country. It's built for tourism and it's staged. So if you travel from each town, you're going to have a different type of tourist experience. Everybody speaks English, at least in the towns. The food is freaking awesome. It's clean as hell,
yeah,
and from our perspective it's cheaper. It's not like crazy dirt cheap, but it is like 20-30% cheaper than you would expect, which makes for a nice holiday, right?
right.
And the reason I mention this is because Thailand and Cambodia have kind of turned themselves into sex trade places. Like, for instance, Thailand, 32% of the GDP comes from the sex industry, right?
Yeah,
That's a lot. That's a lot, dude.
that's a bit. Yeah, that's a
And that's
bit.
not even counting all of the support industries that support it. So it's in truth would be higher, but they've gone that route. So Thailand, I've been to Thailand. Beautiful people, beautiful place, super friendly. Asia's safe anyway, in general. I don't know what kind of image you guys have, but Asia, all over Asia, is a very safe place, much more than any other place I've ever been. So Thailand has gone this route, though. However, it is very sexual pleasure vacations are very easy to do if that's what you want. The reason I mention this is because Vietnam, of course, is right next to Thailand, but it is a beautiful place, great place to go visit if you have a chance. It's a cheaper vacation for you, and the women there are in my opinion, the most beautiful women on the planet. However, very conservative. You don't see a bunch of skin walking around Vietnam or Laos or even China, or certainly not Japan. You never see cleavage here ever, right? Korea is a
Yeah.
little kind of in between. But my point being is in Asia, you have women who are very happy to be mothers and wives. They're not over sexualizing themselves. You don't see this crazy amount of cleavage and skin all over the place. They cover their bodies. They're demure, and as they should be, because they're women. Respect yourself. And I mentioned Thailand specifically because of the industry they built, but I'm comparing it to the West. Have you seen how these young girls are dressing?
Yeah, they're like sluts.
Yeah. Now, am I being prudish?
No.
Yeah, it's way beyond the pale. I don't mind a little cleavage. I don't mind a little sexiness, but I mean, come on, dude. These girls these days, I mean, like 12, 13-year-old girls. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Who's letting them out of the house like that? Anyway, go ahead.
Society nowadays, it's very difficult to make new friends. People are very wary of strangers. Me. Man brings his taxi driver to theme park after finding out he's never been.
Aw, that's cool. Now
Wholesome.
this is cool. Now this is another thing as a traveler that happens a lot. And I know a lot of people in the world, it doesn't matter where, don't really go far away from their home very much. I get this. But those of us who do travel a lot, and I've been all over the world, right? Now my saxophone took me initially, but I continued on my own after that. However, these kind of things happen all the time, dude. I've been in various Asian countries, for instance, where you'll just have some random person come up and start chatting with you and take you out to dinner or maybe invite you to their house or something like that. It happens all the time. And the reverse happens too because you're over there trying to interact with people and like, hey, come. Especially from me, maybe it cost me $5 to get this guy into the park. For him, he didn't go because he's busy working and he doesn't have the money to waste on it, right? These kind of things happen all the time. This is pretty cool, actually. Very neat, dude.
I like it. Americans own 46% of the world's 1 billion guns, according to the UN.
Yep.
46% of the world's registered guns. That's right.
Homer.
Yeah. Remember, everybody, the government doesn't need to know about all your guns. That's all I'm saying.
Only the
they just
handguns,
don't
really,
need
right?
to know. They just don't. What they don't know won't hurt them as long as they stay mind to their own business.
Yeah. The funny thing is that I understand why they're going after the AR-15, even though it's just it's no different per se than say a Smith and Wesson a 9mm or a shotgun or whatever like that. It's just a single pull gun, shotgun, right? But I understand why because in with the old Henrys and Winchester guns and stuff like that, which you can still get today, you can put that on your hip. You can rifle off shots very quickly, and you can fairly accurately, fire into a very close combat situation. You can. That is
Yes.
true. But the idea of the rifle and a shotgun, the people's image of it, their perception is more long distance. And the AR-15 is clearly you can bring that into a very close quarter fight and absolutely wreck it, dude. Right. And so I get why they're after it because handguns are very, very controlled, right? Because they feel that is only for murdering, which is kind of true. The AR-15 makes them afraid in the same way, I think.
Well, I would say handgun is far more used for defense than anything else.
Sure.
It's the sidearm. It's just like a
sidearm.
sword or whatever.
That's
You
right.
could make an argument like if we were back in the day that people shouldn't be allowed to own like spears, right? Because that's a weapon of war or hunting, but is definitely a soldier's weapon. Whereas a sword is a sidearm, or even a short sword is a sidearm. So, but I would say it's the modern day equivalent of a sword is a pistol.
It is.
It's a sidearm, and I largely think that if the founding fathers had intended for weapons of war, whatever, I don't know what the fuck that means. Every weapon's a weapon of war. To be limited in any capacity, they would have said so, and they did not. They said the exact opposite, in fact, many times. Not like a couple, not like they maybe just offhandedly made a quib, or they helped out a buddy. No. They wrote whole litanies of things about this. They were
Yeah, that's
very,
true.
very adamant what they meant. And the
Yeah,
fact that people pretend like we just can't possibly know what they meant.
yeah. And
Like,
no,
are you
it's
what?
true. And you're right. Everything could be a weapon. In the great words of Professor Snape, a spoon indeed can be a weapon.
Yes,
Did you catch that? That was layered.
it's true.
That was layered.
It's true.
It was very
It's
nice.
very true. You can do some damage with a spoon.
You
Just saying, you got
can
dangly bits that a spoon can pop out.
because it hurts more. Thank you.
Yes,
David Carradine likes to hang out in those places. Yeah, hi. All right. You know, it's impossible for us to just simply read the goddamn beam.
it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
I recently learned that volcano snails exist. Their
Mm.
shells are made of iron and they live around hydrothermal vents that can reach up to 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Jurassic Park said it best, life finds a way.
Yeah, that is badass though, isn't it? That is
Yeah.
badass, dude. You go, Mr. Snail.
It literally looks like Alien, but yeah,
Yeah, but I mean that's cool, dude. And keep in mind, we're finding new species all the time. All right, go
yes.
ahead.
Forgetting where you buried 70% of the acorns you harvested, accidentally creating an entire forest filled with acorn trees. Hey,
Yay!
squirrels might not be smart, but they're not dumb.
Hey, but they do plan that
They
that
do.
they do, and a lot of animals don't do that. Uh oh. Okay, here we go. Get him, Grandpa. Get him, Grandpa. Grandpa's going to kick somebody's ass. All right, here he goes. All right, he's on the rim. He's on the rim. It's coming in. It's got a nice curve on it. It's going to get there eventually. It's hitting right in
Oh,
that perfect position.
look at
Strike for
that.
Grandpa.
Old timers like that's right.
Yep.
Don't even try it.
Give him
Don't even say nothing.
Give him half a minute. He's coming. Don't knock him over with that. Don't knock him over with that. That's awesome, dude.
Oh man.
Yeah, and
Put
I
them back together or else. Zoo separates 5 parrots after the birds were caught encouraging each other to swear at guests.
perfect. Where did they learn that? I wonder.
I can't imagine.
Huh?
I think birds are the master race of the world, and we just haven't caught on yet. I think that's
Probably.
really
Yeah.
that's the final red pill.
They're puppeting us. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, another video here. I like
Uh-oh.
the videos. Oh,
What?
yeah, the kind of sharky hand puppet thing. Poor lady.
What?
I need some help here with a return. That's funny.
If I had to work at Walmart, I'd do nonsense like that too.
Sure, why not? I mean, you become a family when you work at those kind of things, you know.
Yeah. Gamers probably like games so much because, unlike in real life, the rules are consistent, make sense, and can be learned. And there are guides that you can read in case you're lost.
That's right. Yeah, that's the best point right there.
Oh,
Good job.
gosh.
Good job. Let me see here. Hunters. Tracking deer takes years of practice. It does. Deer.
The deer.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Being hunting, because I used to do a lot of hunting when I was a kid. My uncles, taught us, and all my cousins and stuff. And I'm sure many of you guys have the same experience. But the interesting thing about hunting is freaking Hollywood, dude. They always create these tropes that are so untrue. You don't go out in the morning and just kind of walk around looking for something to shoot. It's usually something that takes weeks of going out and searching and seeing where the deers move and choosing one target. It's an actual process, but not
Yep.
for this guy. He figured it out.
Yeah, you just put a little bait in the lens, and they just come right to you.
That's right.
Hey.
That's right. That's right. Let's see here. What's the last game you were cheating?
Yeah.
Cheat codes then. Cheat codes now.
Yep.
Fair.
Bro, when I used to play GTA 3 and San Andreas, because it was a controller, because they didn't have it on computer, I didn't have it on computer, and so you had to put the cheat codes in with the controls, and it was a whole a big long chain of different commands you had to put in a very quick sequence. In GTA 3 especially, I could do it so fast I wouldn't even slow down when I was driving at full speed. Like the speed of my fingers when I was younger, it was like done. Whatever the code was, they had to get rid of the cops code. They had to add weapons and ammo codes. Just within a millisecond, I could put them in. It was great.
Yeah. Well, I remember way back before the internet, we had they'd get magazines, and they would have cheat codes in the magazines, right? So
Yeah.
you would create your own little notebook list of cheats. You would do that. That's true. Jimmy saying Grandpa killed 47 Germans with bare hands in World War II. That's right. Don't mess with Grandpa. Let's see. Every 6 months, this man in South Dakota climbs this communication tower to change the light bulb. He's paid $20,000 per climb. Dude,
Nope.
I'd do that. I
Nope.
have no trouble with heights, man.
I think we have these things. We've had them for a while now. They're called drones. Just fly a drone up there. It makes way more sense and is way less dangerous.
That is fair. The Japanese opening ceremony was the worst app opening ceremony of all time. It was lame. It was the
Yeah.
most stupid, lame thing ever. And the Japanese are pissed off about it and making noise because they're like, "What the hell we spend all this money for?" It was
Hmm.
literally ridiculously lame. It was like a college, like a low tier college skit night. That's what the frickin' opening ceremony of the Olympics was. But the only cool thing they had was they had that armada of drones create the planet Earth. That was badass,
Yeah.
and we've been seeing a lot of that recently. That is cool, dude. What they can
Well,
program these drones.
if
Yeah.
you remember last year, when I told you guys that they're going to move away from large scale gatherings entirely, which they are, at least the powers that be wanted people to. And one of the reasons is actually not nefarious at all. It's because they can't stop drone terrorism. You could easily rig up a drone with some explosives or
Oh
some
yeah,
gas or
that's true.
something and cause all kinds of chaos in a
That's right.
stadium.
Yeah.
And there's no way to stop it without like insane amounts of constant vigilance.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So
That is true. Yeah.
I think the big big gathering stuff is just something that largely is going to become less and less. Right now, people are all about it, right? Because they haven't been able to do it for a year. But I think you're going to see more and more moving away from that entirely.
Maybe. Yeah. And Jiminy wants to know can a drone screw a light bulb in? Probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I'd do this job in a heartbeat, dude. I have no problem with this at all. That would be cool. What a view. I love heights though. Some people
No,
really
no
don't like it. I
thanks.
love it. Yeah.
I don't mind heights if I'm standing on something natural. If it's man made, no thank you.
Oh, I
I've
see.
met men and I've met engineers, and they're idiots. Sorry, engineers, but I had to repair all of your mistakes for 20 years. You dumb. You do dumb things, and technicians often just go, "I don't understand why they're doing this. Why did you design it like that? That's stupid."
Well, I had an apartment in, I guess technically it was a condo. I don't know why they called it that. Anyway, it was an apartment in a high rise on the top floor in Honolulu, Hawaii. And
Yep.
of course the floor, I had the whole floor was mine, right? And of course there were different rooms, so I didn't have a true 360 panoramic. There was a panoramic, but there were walls in the way. However, I had a 180-degree panoramic that went from the mountainside all the way to the ocean side, and that was freaking awesome, dude. I mean, I could see all the way to Pearl Ridge from my apartment. It was really neat.
That's pretty
I
cool.
love heights. Yeah. Anyway, okay. That's not smart. Yes, no words needed. Dumb. That's what happens. Dumb. That's what happens. Okay. Go ahead, dude.
A man threatened to sue a magazine for using his photo in a story about all hipsters looking the same, only to learn it's not him in the picture.
Oh, I don't know what 00F means, but
It means
I
oof, like the
oh
noise.
just
Oof.
oof. Okay, it's I
Yeah,
okay.
that's a
Uh,
big old oof.
yeah, that is yeah. Go ahead, dude.
Switzerland's military has remained neutral since 1815, but the entire country is rigged to explode. Thousands of demolition points are wired into bridges, highways, and railroads across the nation so that everything can be destroyed if invaders attack.
Yeah.
Who's there? I have a belt. I'm not afraid to hang myself.
Yeah, Switzerland. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord. Funny men are dangerous. They make you laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. Boom! You're naked. Is it possible to learn this power?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Hayden Christensen is a very not funny person. That's true. Uh, that's funny. You laugh and laugh and laugh, and then boom, you're naked. Well, that's a good day for you.
Yeah, what are we complaining about? Let's see,
Yeah,
you got sex and a laugh all day.
yeah.
Oh, I'm
Let's
just
go on
so
with that.
miserable about
I
this.
know,
What?
dude.
Why?
I'm at a food truck and this guy walks up and says, "I'll have my usual." And the guy working says, "I don't know who the hell you are."
That's what you call an oof,
That
Chester.
is an oof. Yeah, that is an oof. Go ahead, dude.
I wish I was famous. Careful what you wish for. Super famous killer is still at large. You tricked me, but you've helped me find my passion.
Uh-oh. Oh, Jesus
Oh
Christ.
no,
Oh, more videos.
it's a pup.
There it is.
Uh
There he
oh,
goes. It's a bullsoy or a shepherd?
I think it's a shepherd. Look at that boy
Is that
jump.
real? Is that real?
Look at that. Oh yeah, shepherds can leap,
And that's
and
a really serious jump, though.
they're dogs of war, my friend. They can do all kinds.
You sure that's not CG?
I'm pretty sure that's real. Have you ever seen like dog jumping competitions? Those
Yeah, but
suckers can leap.
he's almost flying here for a minute, dude.
Yeah, yeah, they get hang time.
That's badass, dude. You go, brother. Oh
Don't mess with a
no.
shepherd. Oh no, what's this? Hold that bus, hold it. Racetrack. Just made it. Oh boy, we missed it. We'll have to walk. uh,
Flintstones. Something magical is about to
oh.
happen. Aw. Yeah, I never how did that fashion come to be, dude? And they've gotten lower and lower and lower and lower. How did that happen, I wonder? How did they think that looks cool? Because they just look like a dumbass, right?
I don't know. And yes, they look absolutely retarded.
Yeah. And
Like it's almost you know what? I don't even want to call it retarded. That's disparaging to retarded people. It looks so bad. Like it's below retarded. Whatever's below retarded, that's what that looks like.
I did watch Rin Tin Tin, sir. And I watched Lassie as well. But yeah, no, it is dumb. Let's see here. We have just had our patio done, and my 6-year-old has loved going out and
Oh, I
helping the
saw
builder.
this.
So I made his day to receive this. What an example of kindness, Harry. For passing bricks, passing little pavers, pointing brickwork, mixing cement, loading stones, taking pictures of blackbirds and spiders, saying why more time than I have ever heard anyone say why, and being a smashing little guy, minus taxes and national insurance, $10, £10. Yeah, that's nice, dude. That's nice. Okay, we watch one more and we gotta end it. But all right. Oh, all righty. All righty. That was good. That was my wife would like that one. I don't know why. I don't know if your wife does the same thing, but my wife spends a lot of time watching cat and baby videos. Have you figured that out yet?
I not so much the babies, but cats and animals, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, that's fun. We should do more of the memes, dude. That's funny. Um,
I like it.
yeah, and it actually creates conversation points. I didn't even think about that. Anyway, thank you all very much for coming in with us today. We had some fun. We talked about a little bit of serious stuff, but we tried to make today a little more lighter. Tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be talking comic books. We'll we'll get into that. So take us out of here, Thunder.
Oh, it was a good day to live in not Washington D.C.
Mm,
Or L.A. County. And
yeah,
anybody living there, I'm sorry you do.
yeah.
Don't, if you can avoid it, get out of those places. Come to places where they still like just the concept of freedom, and never let anybody tell you that you don't have the right to breathe. I don't even know why that needs to be said, but apparently for Democrats it does. Every human being, every creature has a right to breathe. It's kind of fundamental to living. So be free, have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Later, guys.